Good evening, everybody. It is so nice to see a full house this evening. Welcome to the November 14, 2023 Board of Education meeting for Arlington Heights School District 25. I call the meeting to order. And Lana, could you please call the roll?
Olenichuk.
Here.
Neerman.
Here.
Scapalato.
Here.
Jogi.
Here.
Cerniglia.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
Faso.
Here. Thank you. Could you please stand if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As you can tell from all the cheers and smiles in this room, District 25 has a lot to celebrate today. And first, we will start with a congratulations to the South Middle School Golf Club member, Stanley Powers, who qualified for the IESA State Tournament.
All right. Is our coach, Coach O'Grady here? Hi, is there anything you'd like to say?
All right, so I have Stanley here, and Stanley's a 7th grader at South and participated in the state golf tournament, IESA state golf tournament here in September. He qualified by shooting an 81 at regionals, and yeah, which I think any of us would take any day of the week, 81.
That's my front nine.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh! But and then going on to state, Stanley shot an 86, and for a first time going down state is quite impressive, especially given a big crowd and the pressure-packed situation that it is. So we're super proud of Stanley, and I know great things he expects great things of himself, and the overall winner shot a 71. So it's really, really some great golf. So keep up the great work, Stanley. We're super proud of you at South. So, yeah. It's down, the course is down south in Metamora, Illinois, so just outside of Peoria. So, yeah, great job, Stan.
Stanley, we encourage you to take a water bottle as a token appreciation and congratulations from the school board. And we have a photographer in the hallway that would like to take your picture. Thank you, Coach, and congratulations to you.
Some great golf there. Now, congratulations next we have the cross-country teams from South and Thomas that participated at the state cross-country meet.
Thank you. And we'd like to start with our South coaches. If you have anything you'd like to share, come on up.
Thank you for having us. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to quite a few people. First of all, thank you to the parents. So I want to start with a round of applause. Thank you, parents. Thank you, parents, for all the shoes and the spikes that you buy. You know, they're expensive. All the driving around, all the different meets. Some of these meets are pretty far away, so all the time spent driving and all the support from all the parents. So once again, thank you, parents. Okay. And then thank you to my coaching staff. We have 2 new coaches this year, Diana Cox and Tim Evans. They were a huge support this year, so I want to say thank you to both of them. Thank you. And I also want to say thank you to the Thomas coaches for kind of mid-season deciding to host sectionals. It was a great thing that they did. It was a great sectional. We look forward to maybe co-hosting sectionals at some point in the future. So thank you to to Thomas for hosting. And then last but not least, thank you to our athletes. Our athletes are who we're here to recognize tonight. They really are the ones who make the season. They are the ones who put in so much work and effort, running all the miles, running the laps on the track, and without them, we wouldn't be here. So thank you for all the work that you have put in this season, athletes. So South this year had a great season. We had a lot of PRs all across the board. At our sectional meet, our boys placed second, and our girls placed third. This year, both teams made it downstate, which I'll talk about in a moment. I just also want to mention just how special cross country as a sport is, running as a sport. Running is such an individual sport, which is what it makes it so different. It's a team sport and it's individual. It always kind of amazes me with this sport, just kind of how close these runners can get to. They're such fierce competitors, fiercely competitive people, and yet on and off the course, they are typically always just so kind and supportive and passionate, not just for their own teammates, but all the runners on the course. And I think this year, with our team at South, we've really seen that in our athletes. They've not only put in the work, but they've shown great teamwork and great sportsmanship this year. Down at State, we had some kind of adverse weather this year. The day before, it rained a lot. We practiced through the rain. We had to take our team pictures, which we typically take before. We took after practice, which the girls were not happy about, but it was fine. And during the race down at State, still not the best conditions, pretty wet, pretty muddy, but both teams at South placed 9th. Both teams were in the top 10. Not often we have two teams place in the top 10, and you'll hear about Thomas in just a little bit. Not often you have a district that has, or even a city that has 4 teams that place in the top 10 in the state meet. So a round of applause. And the state meet, it was truly a great day for Arlington Heights running. So last thing I want to mention is our all-state runner, who I don't think is actually here today. I didn't see him. Pierce Baker. Pierce is an 8th grader, and I've got to see him compete all 3 years here at South. And he is such a nice, supportive, hardworking kid. It was amazing seeing him really transform, kind of starting last track season and then really progressing throughout the cross-country season this year. At the state meet, Pierce finished 13th with a PR, a personal record of 10 minutes and 59 seconds. So congrats to Pierce. All right. And at this point, I will hand it over to Thomas. And congrats, Thomas.
Actually, if I could, Coach Stordahl, if you don't mind, if I could call each of our South Cross Country members up by name, and if coaches, if you would grab them each a water bottle when they come up so we can recognize them as individuals.
Do you want me to call them up?
If you have it, otherwise I have it. Okay, great.
So those of you that are here, come on up. Allison Kalkorf. Audrey Childs. Brianna Clokengay. Eliza Ferry. Aaron Collins. Gretchen Heckard. Lily Newman. McKenna Carroll. Tess Bauer. and Isabella Caldera. And then our boys, if we have any of our boys here, Edgar Pignato, Henry Matson, Jacob Samuels, Jose Salazar, Jose's here, Michael Podeco, Tommy Childs, Ty Hugh, Cameron Nemec, and Dylan Hanna. And again, our all-state runner this year, Pierce Baker.
Thank you, runners, and thank you, coaches. Congratulations to all of you. And next, our Thomas coaches, if you'd like to come up.
We have a video to share. Is that appropriate before we talk? We have a video to share. Is that okay? Let's let the video roll.
All right. Well, as you can see, we had a tremendous season that we will unlikely be able to match in the future, a first in state and a second in state. So a tremendous thank you and job well done to all the athletes. They were dedicated all season long. We started our season 10 days before school even started, and they worked hard. They ran through all kinds of weather, all season long. So let's give it up to the athletes and the job they did all year long. And I'll just echo what Tyler said for South and some of the thank yous. We'd like to really thank the Board of Education for the opportunity to continue competing in the ISA. South and Thomas over the years have had so much success downstate, bringing home trophies, really representing the town of Arlington Heights so well. So thank you for that opportunity. We really think it's a privilege to be able to compete in that event and continue that for all of our sports. So thank you, Board. And thank you to the parents. We really appreciate you guys. Like when we went downstate, all the work you guys put in and the support you gave to coaches, gave to the athletes throughout the season, the encouragement, the consoling after tough meets, and the celebrations after the good ones. So thank you, parents, for always being there and always helping the coaches out and being there for your children and their athletic ventures. So thank you, parents. So one of the things we had an assembly to celebrate our success at Thomas, and one of the things that I talked about and kind of what made this team so special, other than the dedication they put in, was how humble they were through the season. They never showed up expecting to win. They always put in the hard work and showed up at the meet and just did their best. And for most of the season, their best was really good, and we brought home a lot of first place. But they never let it go to their head. They continued to show up to practice, put in the work, encourage their teammates, encourage people from other schools. At so many meets, I'd see like our athletes at the finish line, like just being so encouraging to other athletes as they cross the finish line. And it just, makes you proud as a coach to see them doing that it's not just about the winning, it's about, good sportsmanship and being good teammates. And I think that's one of the most rewarding things about cross country is you get to see that element of a team coming together and representing themselves and their school so well. So we really appreciate the coaches do like all that good sportsmanship and hard work that you guys put in through the season.
The only thing I would like to add is that this is a small portion, and I think the same goes for the South Cross Country team. The Arlington Heights running programs are enormous. We had over 150 kids on the team this year, and so to be on this state selected team, kids, you should be really proud, because when the team starts with those kinds of numbers, it's not easy to be on that final roster. So we're obviously beyond proud of you for being on that roster, but that didn't happen by chance, and truly, if you look back at the season from day one, you guys have led by example from the very beginning. And you've led with hard work, you've obviously led with your talent, and you've led with dedication, good attitude, good sportsmanship. And as coaches, we truly couldn't ask for anything more. So, and I'm sure that Tyler and the South coaches echo that same sentiment. It's not easy to go from a program with 150 plus kids down to 20 something. So you should be proud of that. But as coaches, we're extremely grateful for the way in which you have represented our running programs.
Do you want me to just announce them?
And I'll just add our appreciation for our coaches, Becky Fano, Joe Kim, Todd Slawinski. Thank you for your time coaching our students. And I wanted to echo going to state is huge, absolutely huge. And this year, at Board of Education, as you heard, we had 2 teams at South that placed in the top 10. We have a second place boys team. You see them holding their huge award over there. And District 25 was founded in the late 1800s. And for the first time, we have a state champion team, our girls team from Thomas. Yeah.
All right, so I'll start by announcing the boys team, who was second in state. We have 3 athletes not here, Ryan Pham, Colin Musolf, and Patrick Cooper. And then if the boys that are here, you want to come up when we call your name, Isaac Terrazas, Kyle Dugan, Josh Morrison, Levi McEwen, Matt Lammersfeld, who, by the way, Matt Lammersfeld, almost fell completely down at the beginning of the state meet, and he was in last place, but he battled back for the whole race and finished in what place? 43rd place. So the whole race battled back. So give it up for Matt. Billy Dugan, TJ Zaber, and an all-state with 12th place, Cass Krasinski. And for the girls, there are 3 athletes not here tonight. Lily Nelson, McKenna Fox, and Maddie Serer. So representing the girls, we have Megan Fritchie, Adelaide Gala, Clara Vincent, Claire Lammersfeld, Franny McDonald, and I know, so Ada Fisher missed All-State by 1 place. She was 26th place, but she had a tremendous 3 years in cross country, so awesome job, Ada Fisher. Ann Park, who was All-State with 17th place, also all 3 years at Thomas, tremendous job, Ann. And Nora Eitz, who was 5th in state for All-State honors. Tremendous job all season long. Great job. So again, great job, everyone. Awesome season.
Wow, that is really impressive. We're hearing all the clinking of the medals. Truly, congratulations. And I love what your coaches said about leadership, humility. That's really what got you here, and all your hard work and dedication that they spoke about. So keep it up and keep those values that you've learned. And I know that you will. This will be memorable for you for years to come. So congratulations, and congratulations to the parents and your whole family here. And you can stay, or you can go and celebrate.
We'd like to take a group picture of all of our athletes out in the hallway, so if you would join our photographer, and again, have a great night. Congratulations. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Congratulations. Wow, all the fun has left the room, you guys. We're all by ourselves now.
So we do have actually kind of 2 more recognitions combined into one. First of all, thank you to each of our school board members for volunteering to support public education. Tomorrow is Illinois School Board Members Day. So you have a certificate sharing our appreciation at your seats. Again, you volunteer your time, hours and hours of your time, supporting our public schools, our community, and our students. This year's theme is Learn Together, Lead Together, and this is a board that has definitely demonstrated those two things. So your certificate is signed both by me and by our ATA Association President, Ms. Allison Berg. So we just, again, thank you for your collective work on behalf of our community, and happy School Board Members Day tomorrow.
Yay, good job, team.
There is another very special recognition, and I believe Dr. Jogi will talk about that some more, but this board has a very unique accomplishment this year, as they were recently recognized by the State Board of Education, or the Association of School Boards, for their collective work towards board governance, efficiency, and impact. In fact, they received the board governance recognition that was only awarded to 45 school boards in the state of Illinois. There are over 850 school boards in the state of Illinois, so that just demonstrates how impressive that is to be one of 45 that received this recognition. That recognition is awarded when a school board shows a collective commitment to continual growth as a board, when they participate in professional development together with the focus on being an effective, efficient, and goal-oriented school board. It's a 2-year recognition, and so I wanted to share my appreciation to all of you. It's extra work to do the professional development, to meet and do board governance evaluations, and again, one of 45 school districts out of the 850 plus, really something to be proud of. So thank you for leading that and showing the rest of us how to work as a team, especially after challenging times that we hope none of us on this earth ever have to go through again. But you worked through that challenging time and then stepped up to lead as a team moving forward. We appreciate that. Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lori, for all your support and acknowledgement of our board's governance recognition from IASB. Truly a big, I am as board president, just amazed and honored to work with each of you. And our motto, together today to transform tomorrow, transfers into everything we do, including how we collaboratively lead together with our superintendent as a team of 8. So this award is truly a win for our whole district community, and this team has really, really worked hard. And I wanted to say that, first of all, we've been operating with the belief that a board that learns together leads together. And actually, I got a call from IASB, Lori Grant, who you all know, that when they were coming up with this year's theme for the conference, they said they actually took that from our board. So the whole conference, that theme kind of came from us. So kudos to our commitment for growing. And when we did this process, when IASB is looking at school boards, they complete a comprehensive review of each of the boards across the state, right, of folks who they think should rise up to the top. And it was a really long process to do this, and Lori helped with this process. I was asked to provide input by IASB as well, so it was a really great process of reflection. And I want to share an excerpt from the reflection that I was asked to provide to IASB on the board's behalf. So I stated in this, as I was thinking, and I was just like, wow, in just a short amount of time, what we have achieved is tremendous. So in District 25, I had stated in this reflection writing, and it was really thick, the whole thing that we put together. But one of the pieces I said was, in District 25, we're cognizant of the fact that there's a strong correlation between effective governance and student success. And as a board, we have gone through annual professional development by participating at the school board conference, and have also engaged in learning to consistently operate as a high-functioning team, which we truly are. And this focus on our organizational health has been invaluable in supporting our work together, resulting in impactful change efforts for our whole district community. And first and foremost, by engaging the district community and seeking their input towards our strong mission, vision, and goals, the board has established collective ownership in a strategic path forward, right? Our sound vision and equity-focused mission fuels the district's collective commitment and guides our efforts with a clear North Star. And here in District 25, everything we do and everything we say reflects our district's values and purpose. And in District 25, we say it's personal, and we truly live our mission to empower an inclusive, diverse community of learners to innovate and thrive as global citizens. And when it comes to effective board governance, the ISB has these 6 effective principles, and we have them front and center. So we always remember what is our role, and we communicate that to our district as well, as far as clarifying the district's purpose, employing and evaluating our superintendent, monitoring performance, connecting with the community, delegating authority, and taking responsibility for ourselves. So I know that each one of you can rattle these off so well because we're so cognizant, we're so aware of what is our job, and we do this every day, truly every day. I mean, we come here once a month or so forth, or more often than that, but we think about school board work every day as volunteers, and it is a significant commitment, and our families, our partners and our children will tell you that. So this is not only an achievement for us, but for our families as well. I wanted to say a couple more things, just because this is a big moment, is that the evidence shared demonstrate that our board has made significant efforts towards being accessible to our community, right? Through our consistent and inclusive outreach, we have conveyed time and time and again that we value, seek, and welcome diverse perspectives. And additionally, our board continues to spend significant amount of time and energy on reviewing and adopting our board policies. So this is something we started, that we research best practices. We spent a lot of time conversing about what does good policy adoption look like, and we meet here with our attorney and with Lori and the administrators to really talk about what are our policies and how do we effectively give direction to the district to meet the needs of every single child, every single student in our district. And finally, and in many ways, most importantly, our strong emphasis on functioning as a team of 8 inclusively and collaboratively with our superintendent continues to have a positive impact on the why behind our collective service, our students. A little more than 2 years ago, our board went through a transformative review of our superintendent evaluation process, and the whole goal was to ensure that the tools and methodology that we engaged in result in constructive conversations that encourage positivity and growth. And Dr. Bine was so open to this whole process of learning and lifelong learning. And our thoughtful accountability mindset resulted in a belief that it is critical for success to establish a safe space where risks can be taken and thinking out of the box cultivates innovation. And school boards truly are pivotal to strong communities, right? We saw that during COVID, and we see that in every community. Sometimes we even see that when we open our tax bills, like how much goes into schools and school districts. And our board is truly, truly humbled to serve for the sake of our students and the community at large. And it truly takes a village to raise a child, and we're grateful to be part of a supportive network right here in Arlington Heights, benefiting immensely from partnering closely with our school board colleagues across our North Cook region and the state of Illinois and beyond. So truly, congratulations to our board, to Dr. Bai, to our district, and to our whole district community. So well done.
You have a beautiful plaque that does say Illinois Association of School Boards, lighting the way to excellence in school governance. The school board governance recognition presented to Arlington Heights School District 25 Board of Education for the 2023 and 2024 years. And we'd love to get a group picture if the board would step in front of the table, and we'll give you the plaque, and Ronnie will come over and take a picture.
And you can put your pins on too, right?
Oh yeah, and you also have pins that were given to you by IASB. I'm going to move out of the way.
Right, that's a consensus. We want Lori to take this. Okay, moving on from all the celebrations. Let's go. Yes, board committee. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge Lana for all the help that she gives the school board, and so thank you to Lana as well. So. The truth of the matter is, if Lana didn't keep us in line, we wouldn't even be here this evening. We'd all be like lost. So thank you. Yeah, Lana gets her own plaque. So we will move on to board communications, and to begin, are there any board member updates? We know we're all been very busy at board members. So as far as board member updates, I'll talk a little bit about that, though I think it's going to be in the, we've all been very, very involved in the superintendent search, and board members have taken a lot of time away from their families to work to make sure that we hire the best next superintendent. So that is, I think, top of mind for us from now till a couple of weeks from now. So that's a huge update. That's what we're all thinking about. But let's move on to Ed Red. Kevin?
I actually asked Stacy if she would be willing to share first.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stacy.
This last week's Ed Red meeting was a joint meeting between the Northwest Suburban School Business officials as well as the Ed Red group. So the presenter was Eris Delianis from Forensic Radlett. He is the attorney that a lot of school districts use for property tax situations, including District 25. And Eris came to talk about the recent tax bills that came out in Cook County, sharing that Cook County property taxes rose on average about 5.4%, with the north and northwest suburbs bills increasing over 15% on average. He noted that homeowners picked up about 2/3 of the total increase countywide, whereas commercial industrial properties picked up about 1/3. So there was a shift from those properties to residential properties. About 17% of homeowners saw taxes decrease, and about 19% of commercial industrial properties saw their taxes decrease. Obviously, everybody else's increased. Talked a little bit about the TIFs, and that 9% of all tax dollars throughout Cook County go to TIF districts, which also then shifts that burden to residential properties. The assessor certified an increase basically of 30% in residential assessed values and 38% in non-residential assessed values, but the Board of Review then certified the residential properties at 28%, so just slightly under that, and 18.8%, so a 20% decrease between the assessor's assessed value and the Board of Review's final certification on non-residential properties. So again, all of those things impacting the tax bills that just recently came out in Cook County. Talked a little bit about property tax appeals and how they've significantly increased over the course of time. Typically, outstanding tax appeals at the end of any calendar year are between 50 and 60,000 open cases, but at the end of 2023 right now, they're sitting at about 98,000. So with increased assessments come more and more increased tax appeals. And then just, did you want to talk about other Ed Red stuff? Or? Okay. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Stacy. So in addition to all of the new and interesting tax information that was shared at the most recent meeting, there were also some topics about veto session legislation items that have been of interest and closely watched by school districts in the state. One of them being a recent veto by Governor Pritzker on a proposed bill for kosher and halal food lunches to be made available. And the reasoning behind it My understanding is that the idea was that it would be a master contract for the entire state with a single vendor, and it would need to be a local control issue, according to Governor Pritzker, which was his reason for vetoing it. There's a current Senate Bill 457 in a response to that veto, where they're looking at some of that contract language and trying to find a way to make it still work, but that's kind of in limbo right now, so that's still being worked out. They talked a little bit about school districts as polling places, and I know in District 25 we've decided to close schools on election days, but they're looking at making sure that school boards would always have to approve the use of schools as polling places before it can happen, rather than being told by the state or by local governments that it's going to be used as a polling place. And then I've talked in the past about the discussion of trying to get grants for new arrival students in the state of Illinois, since we've had so many in recent years. There were hopes that something was going to happen during the veto session, but now they don't think anything is going to take place until the spring. So it's still in the works, but it is not moving very quickly.
Thank you very much to both of you. Any questions for Kevin or Stacy about all the bills that are going through? Okay. Then next up is IASB. We are all getting ready this weekend. Well, starting on Thursday, our board will be at the school board conference Thursday through Sunday. And this time, not only are we going to be taking in and going to sessions, but we are at the table not only learning, but presenting and really sharing the successes of District 25, and we're so proud to be up there with our administrators, have also been working really hard. Lots of months of preparation have gone into this weekend's ISB presentations from District 25's end, so huge kudos to Shab Pullers and Dr. K, who will also be with the board at the school at the conference presenting. So District 25 will be represented at 3 different panels at the school board conference. So we are going gangbusters in and have a lot of good things to share. So we will come back and report more in detail about what we've learned and what we shared and what responses we got, and if anybody came to our sessions or not. So if you have friends who are going to school board conference, tell them to come to our sessions, okay? I think Dr. K will have tchotchkes to give out. Other than that, so what happens at the school board conference is that there's a delegate assembly, and a huge thanks to Kevin for serving as our delegate. You're going to get a fancy pin, so you can have 2 pins, your school board governance one, and then you can have another one as well. And at the delegate assembly, boards from across the state come into one large room. It's really interesting, just the diversity of different districts across the state of Illinois. While he's there, the rest of the board members will be presenting. So he kind of took the short straw and volunteered himself, even though he wanted to be at the session. So at this point, do board members have the information from the IASB resolutions? And if you have it, Dr. Bond can review each resolution. Well, please hand it down to Dr. Bond, because she's going to tally it while we're at the meeting. And if you have any questions, she can review the resolutions as well. But if not, because we've all had the information for a while, we'll kind of tally it up, and we'll let our delegate, Kevin Michael, know which way to vote on behalf of our board at the delegate assembly. So any questions on any of the resolutions?
Madam President?
Yes,
forgive me for not asking this sooner. This is my first time attending this conference or participating in this process.
Yeah.
Is it permissible at this time to share our thoughts on any of the positions with the rest of the board?
Yes, for sure.
So I was looking at item 1, the industrial construction resolution, and the IASB position is not to adopt. And I was reading through the rationale behind the proposal, and basically what the district in question is saying is that they believe that there should be limitations on how close an industrial zone can be built to a school or a school district building. And the reasoning behind not recommending adoption is because they think that it should be left up to local control, and that if it is an environmental concern, that an organization such as the EPA should come in. I question the reasoning behind their position on this, because the way I interpret that is they're saying that, now, and I understand that it can be a difficult decision for a lot of communities in the state to have to decide between, you have limitations on real estate, of course, and they have to make an important decision between, how will this impact our economy versus how will this impact student health. But from my perspective, I don't think that's a decision that anyone should have the right to make. I think that student health should always be the priority over the economy, even though that's a difficult decision to make. And I feel like saying that certain communities should have the ability to compromise student and staff health in a school just doesn't sit right with me. So I personally don't agree with the recommendation not to adopt. So I just wanted to share that and find out if anyone else had any thoughts on that particular resolution.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing. This is exactly how it goes, Kevin. So you're an advanced board member. Yeah, so if you have thoughts on any of these, share them, and that way it also informs, the colleagues around the table. And if you need your sheet back because you have any changes, of course you can make them. So Kevin, thanks for sharing that.
Madam President?
Yes, Greg.
I just want to share a perspective on the process. I don't mean ours here, but rather the whole resolution process. I feel like when reading through these, it's often, we have the resolution and then whether or not to adopt. And though they give reasoning, the committee will give reasoning on, should we adopt it or not. My sense, it feels like it's a this or that. And for the issue Kevin's bringing up, I'm in favor of adopting it, knowing that I see the legislative process as an opportunity to address the concerns the committee brought up. So that's my perspective. So not discounting the committee's, concerns when they say do not adopt, but I feel advocacy and the process can address a lot of their concerns when they say do not adopt.
Good point. And I think, let me ask the board this question. Would it be helpful for Dr. Biden to go over the resolutions briefly? Would that be okay with you, Dr. Biden?
Sure, if people already understand them, I don't need to.
The questions? Okay. We don't have to vote, we're just going to tally it up. It doesn't require a vote.
But I just say in full disclosure, I think we need to, because it's a board we're supporting a position.
Yeah, so we're going to, go ahead, Dr.
I
Biden.
say the thought was, if to have any conversation the board wanted, send your tallies down, send your sheets down, I will tally them, and then here at the meeting say, so the board has voted, or the board has suggested that we adopt this, do not adopt this.
No, I understand.
If you want to
that.
verbalize that, you can. We were trying to create an
Yes,
efficient
just-
process.
Because in years past,
We've done it a variety of ways. We've done it not at the meeting.
Yes,
We've done it in a variety. Yeah, we've done a variety of ways.
So I think it would behoove us if we just, in full disclosure, just say, hey, on this first resolution, who wants to adopt, who doesn't want to adopt, and
Yeah.
we move it
And
forward.
Rich,
That way
in the
the public
past, we-
knows and everything.
We can do that
is right.
quickly if that
Yeah.
works. Sure.
And we double checked with the attorney too, so the way the reason being, so we'll be voting as one board, and so it will be vocal which way District 25 board is going right here at the meeting. We have in years past when we've done it the other way, it's caused some confusion because of the do not adopt from them and do adopt. So if we tally up the sheets, but if you want to hear any information, then I say let's hear it. But that's how I would suggest that we go about it, if we just tally them and move on, because we have a very long agenda and a closed session.
Agreed. Again, I'm just voicing that it would be easier and in full disclosure if we just said industrial, how many people want to adopt? If you do, then the rest
Okay.
are negative, right? It'll go fast. That way everyone knows what everyone voted and we don't have questions about it afterwards.
Okay, so let's do so collective will of the board. Is it okay if we pass these sheets back, or would you like to do a verbal vote on each? Any?
Madam President?
Yes.
Rich, I just want to, if I understand what you're saying, were you saying just go through each one at a time and just by show of hands?
Yeah. Do you adopt? Yes. Then the opposite is no.
I'm comfortable with that. I think that could move
Yes.
quickly enough if
Yeah.
the
Okay.
rest of the board agrees.
Okay, sounds good.
Do you want me to do a roll call, please?
No.
No. So you adopt
I'm
it.
just watching hands.
I'd like Dr. Bynum to go over, if you could, the school resource officer funding. What resolution, please?
Okay, do we want to do number one and
Yeah,
then
let's
move
vote on
on?
one.
So a show of hands of people who want to adopt number one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the second one that you just asked about, Dr. Jogi, is school resource officer funding. The school district that submitted this is requesting that the Illinois legislature consider legislation providing educational funding to all school districts to offset the cost of a school resource officer. So right now there's no state money, right, that offsets that. That's what they're asking for. Your resolutions committee agrees with that request and recommends that resolution be adopted. Any questions on that one? Is there a show of hands of people who would say do adopt? 4, 5, 6. Okay, thank you. The third one, I'll just go quickly, is the bus driver regulations, where the district submitting it is saying that, let's see, the IASB should support changes to the federal and state school transportation regulations that return licensing requirements and driver trainer liability back to the pre-February 23 levels at a minimum, allowing local training and testing for bus driver candidates, and increase the transportation reimbursement rate from the state to 100%. The resolution committee, just double checking here, agrees with that and recommends that the membership do adopt that resolution. Questions about the bus one? All right, show of hands if you agree to adopt. We should adopt that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you. Got it. The fourth one is employment history review. The submitting district is asking that IASB request the Illinois legislature consider using the Illinois Department of Child and Family Services child abuse and neglect tracking system as a means to fulfill the employment history review in lieu of Faith's law requiring us to reach out to previous school districts to get that information. IASB Resolution Committee believes that that is not the right system. The Department of Children and Family Services tracking system is not the correct system to use, so they recommend to do not adopt that. So I'll ask again on the employment history review, a show of hands of who believes IASB should adopt the resolution to use the DCFS tracking system.
I think the way I understand it.
Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead. Question?
Yeah, sorry, Madam President. I read that section and I find it really hard. I know it's a vote for a vote out of many votes, but I don't know if there's, why they said it's not the right one. They didn't really give a lot of explanation. And I thought the resolution was pretty compelling, but I guess I'm asking you, Dr. Bynum, as an expert, is there anything else to add there? Just not to recommend one way or the other, but anything else we should know before we say adopt or not? And
I do not have any other information.
Yeah, I'm inclined to say adopt because it's just a level of security for our students, like checking.
So we have to check. This resolution is to use this specific, the DCFS system, tracking system. We have to check. We have certain questions we have to ask all previous districts now when we hire anybody. But they are saying, instead of asking districts, let's use this tracking system, and if something's in the tracking system, that's where you would get the information.
Madam President, and then, so I would add, go back to my comment earlier, is they didn't give a lot of detail on why they wouldn't recommend, and this is really just to advocate for another system to improve on the challenges districts are having, and I think the legislative process would bear out, oh, maybe it would be what they recommend or not, so I'm in favor of adopting.
All right, then ready for a show of hands again for the employment history review if you feel that they should adopt that resolution. 2, 4. Thank you. Okay. And the final one, the alternative safe school funding, was a resolution that IASB advocate for additional funding to be provided to regional alternative safe schools so that they can have an elementary appropriate school, and additional funding and approved certification programs for what we call BCBA, Board Certified Behavior Analysts, very difficult positions to fill in school districts, and additional flexibility with student discipline to help local districts provide the safest learning environment possible. And also that the state legislature review Senate Bill 100 and make any necessary changes to allow for more local control as it relates to student discipline post-COVID. The resolution committee recommends do not adopt this request. Are there questions on this one? Okay, show of hands if you feel that they should adopt the alternative safe school funding resolution.
I guess I'm not,
Okay, so I see 4. Okay, so let me tell you how this works. Kevin, I'm writing this on a different sheet for you because when you go to the delegate assembly, they will say, do you agree with the committee recommendation or do you disagree with the committee recommendation? So the tally of the board is, on the industrial construction resolution, we disagree with the committee's recommendation to not adopt because you want them to adopt it. On the school resource officer funding, you agree with the committee to adopt the resolution. On the bus driver regulation, you agree with the committee to adopt that resolution. On the employment history review, you disagree with the committee saying to not adopt. And on the alternative safe school funding, you disagree with the committee saying do not adopt. Okay? So basically on this board, you agree, your votes were all to adopt all 5 of the resolutions. So Kevin, I'm just going to take a picture of this so I have it in case it gets lost somewhere.
and then Kevin, there's trainings that are videotaped, and then you have clickers. It's really fun.
All yours. It's really fun. You have a very positive
I did already attend a webinar, and to add to the confusion, they described the new voting devices as giving you a choice between yes and no.
So you'll have to change your things too.
Which is neither adopt or not adopt, nor agree, nor disagree.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but Kevin, they went from like, I don't know, like 25 resolutions to
Yes.
5. So you are in good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we're late for lunch, but
Thank
maybe
you.
you'll make it. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Bine. And thanks, Rich, for that suggestion. Okay, we are now going to go NSSEO, and actually NSSEO, there's also a kind of a recognition acknowledgement there because I heard through a little bird that, called Twitter, sorry, that the board members of NSSEO were recognized as the shining stars, and Liz was one of the board members, so congratulations to NSSE board and team.
All right, well, thank you. We actually had our last NSSEO board meeting at Minor School and got to tour around and take a look there at all the amazing things that are happening. And we're going to be having each meeting at a different school going forward. So it gives the board members an opportunity to see the facilities, meet some teachers, and it's been really great. They're working through their facility assessment plan and noted that their partner districts, District 25 included, have been incredibly helpful with the process. So thank you to our District 25 team and Stacy Malik for helping out with that process. NSSEO has also hosted their Harvest Fest at Sunrise Lake for families and staff. It was a huge success. Many of our District 25 schools also visit Sunrise Lake. It is an outdoor education facility in Bartlett, and as a partner school, we have access to it. Our school leadership teams have also taken part in team building activities at Sunrise Lake. I believe this year so far, Dryden and Thomas staff have gotten to go and enjoy, and perhaps others, but those are the ones that I also, the same little bird, Anisha, I saw as well. So that's what I've got from them.
Thanks, Liz, and hopefully one of these years, maybe next year, we'll get our hiking gear on and our board can go out to Sunrise Lake. So we've been tossing that idea around, so maybe hopefully it'll come to fruition. Because I know I need more steps throughout the day. Thanks, Liz. Now is the section for community input, and I would like to remind our audience.
Do you have any blue sheets?
Oh, okay, so we can move on. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to communication from district partners. We will start with Megan. I saw her earlier. Hello, Megan. Worthington from the Arlington Heights Council of PTAs.
Good evening. I
Hi.
apologize, I'm in my work attire this evening. So the PTA has been really busy this fall. Each school has hosted a variety of events, fun fairs, fall fests, movie nights, house hops. I can't even name them all here. And on Monday, October 16th, the Northwest Cook region hosted its annual meeting and celebration in Schaumburg. The Arlington Heights Council was well represented, and we received numerous awards for excellent work during the 22-23 school year. Each PTA in our district was recognized for various achievements, including exceeding membership goals, innovative programming, and furthering the mission of the PTA. There were so many awards that I couldn't read them all this evening, so that's very exciting. This past week, many of the District 25 schools started with the Pack the Piggies fundraiser. So each school was given a task of raising $1,000, which will go towards scholarships for D25 students to be awarded in the spring. There are a few schools that are going to do their Pack the Piggy fundraiser a little later in the school year because of some conflicting fundraisers or programming. But each school will collect spare change in hopes of achieving their goal of $1,000 per school. Each school decides their reward for meeting their goal. So far I've heard some pretty fun ones, like sliming principals and working from the roof. So sounds like a lot of fun in coming up with those rewards. The next exciting happening in PTA is our reflection submissions. So each school is working on collecting their reflections program submissions and getting them ready to see who will advance to the region level. So we look forward to seeing those projects from all of our students be submitted this month. As we approach Thanksgiving next week, I just wanted to offer my gratitude and thanks to all of the amazing PTA volunteers in our district. Being a volunteer isn't easy, and I'm so proud and continuously in awe of the amazing PTA volunteers in District 25 working so hard every day to create amazing programming and foster community and collaboration and take time out of their busy lives to support our kids. It's been really a joy for me in this role to watch each of the PTAs in our monthly meetings collaborate with each other, share ideas, and get excited about all the things that they're doing and just kind of support and share ideas with each other, which has been really neat. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Congratulations to all our PTAs. So many awards, you guys. This is amazing. Oh, District 25, that's really cool. And now we have ABC 25 Foundation. Gina.
So yesterday evening was my absolute favorite night of the year for ABC 25. So all of the liaisons who have completed the grant reading come together, and we have the discussion around the awards for the grant giving, and we get to pass out all the money that we've raised. So it is my absolute favorite night. What I will offer is only at a high level. Announcements are coming, hopefully this week. We received 55 grants this year, totaling grant requests of over $63,000. It was an amazing year. I am so grateful, to keep the theme going, I am so grateful for all of the teachers and the administrations that have submitted ideas. And you want to talk about like really great ideas for Christmas, all you have to do is read some of these grants. They are amazing, and the creativity that goes into them and the thought process is just so appreciated, let alone the hard work that is not lost on any of our grant readers. So the only thing that I will offer is that the results are in, announcements are coming. I'm not going to share because we want to make sure that we tell the people that are receiving the grants first. And obviously, Dr. Bine, you will always be copied when I send out my slew of emails that go out. So look for those later this week. What I will offer is that the team did a really incredible job, and the only news I will break is that every school in our district does have a grant recipient winner at the school. So again, an amazing job by the liaison team. Thank you for all the volunteer hours and the amount of time and effort. Liz, you're on that group. It is an incredible endeavor, and they did an absolutely amazing job this year in reading the grants, grading the grants, and Allison, I can copy you on all the grants that go out too so that you can share in all your good news. So I very much look forward to the rest of this week as soon as I get some time away from jury duty to be able to get the rest of this done so that we can notify everybody.
See, very good. Thank you, Gina. It's like the Oscars. It's so secretive. Like Gina's our go-to. She has the envelopes to open. I noticed she said she's busy with jury duty and not board, so I'm really happy that it's something. So civic duty on top of civic duty for Gina. Allison Berg.
Nobody told me it was like a feel-good theme for the board tonight, but I feel like I might just keep that vibe going for a minute here. Good evening, everybody. I would like to start by acknowledging board member appreciation. The ATA would like to thank our board members for their service and dedication to District 25. We have been so fortunate to work collaboratively with all of you and look forward to continuing to do so in the future. So happy Board Appreciation Day to all of you. Spotlight on the schools today. I want to focus on Westgate first. Here we go. Westgate has 2 new student-driven leadership committees this year. The Welcoming Wolverines. Westgate is excited to announce a new student leadership opportunity. The Welcoming Wolverines consists of students from 1st through 5th grade who are working together to plan activities to help new students feel welcome and included at Westgate. And some of the planned activities include making cards and posters, leading tours of the school, being a lunch or a recess buddy, creating informational videos. And there's a picture of that group at work. And then the other initiative going on at Westgate this year, a little picture right there, is the student, there's a student leaders team. The student leadership team is composed of 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students, and these leaders are growing their leadership skills and acting as role models for the entire student body. They're promoting monthly school-wide activities, organizing school-wide community service projects, and having lots of fun doing so. In November, they organized a veteran letter writing project, and there's a couple of kiddos hard at work there. Some other things going on. I think every school in the district participated in a Veterans Day activity. I was just going to report on 2 schools, but I think every school did something for Veterans Day. Windsor School, I have to toot our own horn. We have a Veterans Day breakfast at Windsor School every year. So it took place last Friday. We had over 60 veterans come to Windsor School. There's our 4th graders. 4th grade students perform patriotic music for the group while all the vets and their families go ahead and enjoy breakfast at our building. Each veteran also makes an appearance on our morning announcements, talks about their their children or grandchildren or their relationship to the Windsor student. And then we finalize our morning with a parade. So the vets parade through the whole building and all the students wave flags, and it's pretty awesome. Greenbrier also had a Veterans Day assembly, and here's some pictures from theirs. They have a wall honoring all their veterans, also some music, and so here's a few more pictures of the kids with their family members coming to the school for their Veterans Day assembly as well. One more. Finally, we had some taste testing going on in the district these last few weeks. Food service came to a few different classrooms. They asked for volunteers. I missed it, sadly. But other classes did get to have food service come to their classroom. The food service staff came into the rooms and explained to the students about some new menu ideas that they have wanting to pilot. And so they went ahead and the students got to taste the food and to give some feedback. So it was a fun and tasty treat for our students. Here are some of our kids. There's food service giving talking to the class about it. One of our students, Lily, enjoying it. Here's some macaroni and cheese, and the kids tasting all the different foods. They had a really good time, and hopefully we will see some of those menu items come to our schools. So we're pretty excited about that. So that's what's going on in the district. Thank you, as always, the opportunity to share, and I will be back next month to share more. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, our next item is the consent agenda, which is an action item. Can I have a motion, please?
Madam President,
Yes, Greg.
I move that the Board of Education approve those items on the consent agenda as follows. A, personnel report, an addendum to personnel report. B, treasurer's report. C, invoices. D, special, regular, and closed session meeting minutes of October 10th, 2023.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Lana, could you please call a vote?
Neerman,
Yes.
Scapalato,
Yes.
Jogi,
Yes.
Cerniglia,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Faso,
Yes.
Oliniechek.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is an update on the ruler program. Dr. Fitzpatrick, please share your report with us. We're looking forward to hearing from you. There you are. Wow, chocolate and mood meters. Today is a good day.
Yes, right, it is, yes, absolutely.
Where are you, Greg?
Thank you, Sharon. All right, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to give an update on our ruler program. Tonight, we plan to share the research behind social emotional learning instruction, review the timeline for our ruler implementation, share updates and highlights from this school year, and shed a spotlight on the ruler core tools. We will also share a short video starring some of our very own students and teachers. I'm joined here tonight by, on the end, our literacy and SEL coordinator, Sharon Nellis, then second grade teacher from Olive Mary Stitt, Jody Christoforu, and finally, fifth grade teacher at Windsor, Janine Flauter. And I'm now going to turn it over to Sharon Nellis. Okay, this is close enough, you think? Okay. Hi.
Are you, yep, thank you. Okay, so this shows us a little bit of some of the great benefits of social emotional learning programs. So social emotional learning is critical to just supporting academics and growth overall. The SEL promotes the development of skills, goal setting, problem solving, self-management, responsible decision-making, self-motivation. All of those positively impact our students' academic achievement. Independent studies have shown social and emotional learning to be a powerful tool for boosting academic development. The positive impact on academic achievement is consistent across study after study on SEL. Most recently, a 2022 meta-analysis involving 523 studies and an estimated 1 million students found that universal school-based SEL programs across early childhood education to high school have consistent positive impact on student academic achievement and attitudes. These impacts are long-lasting. According to a 2017 meta-analysis of 82 research studies involving 100,000 students worldwide, follow-up studies conducted years after students participated in SEL found that their academic performance was an average of 13 percentile points higher than students who did not participate.
So taking you a little bit through our journey, during the 2019-2020 school year, the District 25 SEL Committee selected the Ruler framework and participated in training. Ruler was then introduced to all staff during the 2020-2021 school year, and again, training was provided. During the 21-22 school year, staff began using the Ruler framework and the core tools with our students. Parent presentations were also provided at each school. We continued Ruler implementation with students during the 22-23 school year. Parent presentations again occurred at each school building, and we also trained district office staff using the Ruler modules.
So Ruler engages all of our students from our youngest in our early childhood program to our oldest in grade 8. The Ruler approach includes lessons and core tools that can be woven into day-to-day activities. And each school building had an SEL facilitator from the beginning of the 2021 school year to the end of last school year. And this was a grant-funded stipend that was provided through ESSER 3 funds. These teachers were instrumental in the successful rollout of Ruler during our implementation years. Janine was one of our SEL facilitators at Windsor School, and it was just such an honor working with this group of teachers who were just so dedicated to implementing Ruler and really getting off the ground running. Each school currently, there remains a team at each school that is dedicated to the support of leading social emotional learning at the building level. Thank you. Ruler is embedded throughout our school day. The core tools include the mood meter, our school and classroom charters, meta moments, and blueprints. The Ruler tools reinforce the skills of emotional intelligence, which capture the Ruler or captured in our Ruler acronym: recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating emotions. Now, my friend Jody here is going to share more about the mood meter.
So in front of you, you each have a mood meter. Our students plot their emotions on the mood meter during the school day. And this is kind of how it works. So looking at your x-axis, it ranges from very unpleasant to very pleasant. If you look at your y-axis, it ranges from very low energy to very high energy. Checking in on the mood meter helps students more accurately describe their feelings, which leads to more effective management of emotions. Janine will share now another Ruler tool called the meta moment.
Have you ever felt so upset that your heart starts thumping, your breath, your breathing speeds up, and you're feeling a little shaky? Like me right now? Have you ever done or said something you've regretted?
The meta moment helps us act more like our best selves when we're having intense feelings. Think about a time when you're late to work or an event and you're headed out the door and your child spills a glass of milk on the family room carpet, your dog runs out the front door, and you're left, now I lost my spot. Here, this is the meta moment time to help manage the emotions you feel in that moment. So the steps to the meta moment is step 1 is to sense. You feel that tension bubbling inside of you, and you feel the feelings rising up. This is an opportunity to take a breath. To take a breath, we count for 5 as we inhale slowly, hold it for 3 seconds, and then slowly exhale for a count of 5. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Can you come to every board meeting to do this with us?
It feels good, doesn't it? It really does reset you. So step 2 is a pause. So after the breath, you have a moment to think and respond without acting on your first instincts. Step 3 is to see your best self. Now that you have paused, you have time to think about your best self and consider how that version of you would choose to respond. This is an opportunity to think positively, and positive self-talk is encouraged. Lastly, think about helpful strategies. For some common strategies for students who are in conflict, they might be walking away, or finding an adult, or social support. Considering the other person's perspective, using positive self-talk. I can do this. Or reframing a situation, looking at the situation from another point of view. What are some reasons she would say that, for example? In our scenario, taking a meta moment allows us to calmly respond to our upset child, to the dog, to the drink on the carpet, and reset our day for ourselves and our child in a kind and supportive way. Jody is going to pick up our next tool, the charter.
So the charter is designed to build and sustain a positive climate. The charter represents agreed upon norms for how all students want to feel, as well as what needs to happen or change for these feelings to be consistently present. So when you're creating a charter, we want to gather together and we want to ask 2 important questions. How do you want to feel at school? And what are the behaviors that will help us feel this way? The charter is typically created at the start of the school year and then revisited as needed. So if you'll just, do we have a, there you go. That's our charter, the yellow one. So here are a few examples of a classroom charter. Again, I think the most important thing is that teachers ask the students to identify the words that describe how the students want to feel at school, and then ask, what are the behaviors that will help us feel that way? And you can see all my kids sign. They used to kind of sign around and like that. So back to you.
Yes. So our last tool this evening is the blueprint. The blueprint is a ruler tool that uses a set of questions to prompt self-reflection and help us resolve conflicts. At the heart of the blueprint's is teaching our students and ourselves the importance and meaning of empathy and perspective taking.
So next, we have a video showing some of our staff and students talking about Ruler and its impact. So,
what have you learned about yourself too through Ruler? It's kind of like studying yourself a little bit.
It is. It really helps find who you are and where you are mentally. It can tell you if you're fine or if there's stuff you have to work on per se. is like SEL. It's social emotional learning, and it helps with children understanding their emotions. I think it's a good way for middle schoolers, elementary schoolers, and adults alike to express themselves with their emotions. I've taken away about how like to control myself in different situations probably, and how to like help other people, and how like to not be so selfish, to be like selfless and like to go into other people's shoes. Ruler is class charters that we make, and it basically summarizes how we want our classmates to feel. Yeah, it's kind of fun because like some people disguise it really well, and so you don't know that they're feeling upset or that they're worried or nervous. And with class charter, you can kind of be like, okay, this person isn't really doing what they normally do, so maybe I can make them feel comfortable and help them.
Our classroom charter is something that we worked on at the beginning of the year, where we come together and we basically ask each other in the classroom, how do we want to feel when we come to school each and every day? Like, what are our top words? After we've chosen those words and we all agree that those are the most powerful words for how we want to feel, then our next question is, what are we going to do each and every day to take ownership of those words so that we can make sure that we feel that way when we're at school and that we help others to also be able to feel that way?
When we first made it, I did not feel included in a lot of things, but then after we made it, and I said I'm like in 4th grade, and I started like feeling more confident. Like, can I hang out with you? And yeah. Like Damien kind of said, I'm still kind of nervous, but like I don't like being rejected almost, so I get nervous asking to be included. But with class charter, you can kind of like not be rejected. Like, it teaches people to be inclusive. Yeah, it teaches the other people, like, oh, the class charter said to be inclusive, so I'm gonna go hang out with him or her too.
So the mood meter we've implemented in different ways in our classroom. We do have like the poster of the mood meter, but we'll start off with a mood meter check-in. And that's when students, they have like a little personal copy of the mood meter. Some students have different versions, so it could just be emojis. It could just be a different version, but it's still really looking at the pleasantness and looking at the energy level. So they can just circle how they're feeling. Based on that, we decide, do we need to kind of calm down or do we need to kind of energize up? Because it could vary, right? Do you want to talk about what that looks like, our afternoons?
So yeah, after we get back from lunch and recess, we sit in our seats quietly and we can like color or like have a fidget or something that helps us calm down before like, because after we get all riled up at recess or like playing outside or even inside, a lot of kids need some time to just like sit there instead of just jumping right into the next thing. Mm-hmm. So it really does help instead of just like jumping into like the next lesson or the next thing that we're doing. It's like a little break time in between to do something. Meta moment is just a good way to, if you're overwhelmed with something or just really aren't feeling yourself, just to get a break. Go to the drinking fountain, walk around, so to get less overwhelmed.
I feel like the students have a really good idea of how to use a meta moment appropriately, and as much as they might kind of joke about it, they know that when they need to take a meta moment because their anxiety is high. They have a test and they need to just step back and kind of refocus and get themselves ready to face that with a positive attitude.
The one time I've used it, it was right before a big French assessment, speaking assessment. I was trying to make sure I remembered everything, and I took it. It helped me cool my nerves, and then I went down and killed it.
How do we implement that? How do we make connections, like real life connections to what we're doing? So, you know, with reading texts in 6th grade, they do a social issues book club, and that lends itself perfectly to, you know, did those characters take meta moments? What would that have looked like? Did they problem solve together? And did I think about how my words and how I said them will impact that other person and vice versa?
And same thing with social studies, like conflicts of origin, looking at historical conflicts that have occurred and did they see eye to eye? What were their differences? Why did they have those differences? Is it because of their different cultural backgrounds? And then how can we bridge that gap and resolve those issues or conflicts?
If you learn about ruler, to mostly focus it about yourself and how you can become a better person in life, and how you can also help others too.
So I think, like we often say, sometimes the students just say it best. I, as a former middle school counselor at one point in my career, I think the video is good evidence of the maturity with which our students are now speaking about how they're feeling and what their plans are if they feel like they need to do something to adjust those feelings. Back in the day, I'm not sure that I was even seeing from our 8th graders that level of analysis of how they were doing and also using the vocabulary. So we're really proud of that. I know Sharon touched a little bit on some research, some additional research about SEL and embedding it throughout the day is that it goes on to influence attention and learning, decision-making and creativity, mental and physical well-being, and healthy relationships and academic achievement. Ruler also addresses our strategic plan learning environment goal to cultivate a healthy climate and culture that creates conditions and supports to meet the needs of all learners. Further, it supports the strategic plan strategy of addressing the growing social, emotional, and mental health needs of our students, families, and staff. We're grateful to the board for their support in implementing this program at what we felt like was a really kind of crucial time for our staff and students. And we're happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you so much. That was really, wow, what wise students we have who we could learn from. And I think we should have the mood meter here every board meeting and take a meta moment. So no, that was really exciting. I have some comments, but I'm going to see if my colleagues have any questions, comments.
Madam President?
Yes, Kevin.
Dr. Fitzpatrick, thank you, and thank you to all of the staff for the presentation. That was excellent. So I noticed looking at the timeline, and as you just mentioned, it was well-timed since obviously there's been a crisis in social and emotional wellness in everybody, but especially in children. So obviously, based on the timeline, it looked like the implementation was put into place before the pandemic began, but as it hit, I'm just curious, how did it impact the rollout of the program, since a lot of it was during remote and hybrid instruction? And then did you notice any type of need for additional staff training or follow-up that wasn't part of the initial plan as a result of that?
Yeah, great question. So yes, we began the process in the year when the pandemic hit, so we were kind of en route. We then had some tough, hard discussions about, do we proceed with this or do we pivot, to use a word we try not to use too much these days, and come up with a different plan. But we really had a sense that this was going to be important for our community. So we did make some shifts, not all. There are ruler modules for our teachers to participate in. Those are all online anyways, so we proceeded with those. I would say the biggest change we made was the creation of the SEL facilitator role. Schools have implementation teams that help make decisions at the local level about what the framework's going to look like in their building. We knew principals had a lot on their plate. Normally, principals kind of alone would then spearhead this implementation team. We felt like it was important to provide a partner for them during that time, and that's where the SEL facilitator role, like Janine was in that role. She partnered with her building principal to really kind of keep the momentum going with the program. So We're proud of the work that they did, and we feel like we're in a really good spot now. Those implementation teams will continue with the leadership of the building administration.
Madam President?
Yes, Craig.
Just a quick question, Dr. Fitzpatrick. What does it look like as new staff come in now and as they're onboarded? How do we bring them into this culture that's, it's fairly embedded at this point? We're in year 3 of the implementation.
Sure, yeah. As part of our new faculty orientation with the staff prior to the school year, there is a session for all new staff on the ruler framework. Additionally, throughout the year, we have new faculty modules on a variety of different topics. One of them is devoted to the ruler module. So all those individuals participate in the same exact training that our existing staff had at the onset of our implementation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much to all of you for presenting. I know that the board, we've had just so much on our docket that it took a while for us to get to this presentation. So thank you for your patience and just immersing us into it. And for the teachers being here, we could envision you doing this in front of your classroom, and you're very good at what you're doing. So thank you so much. Okay. Okay, next, Dr. Fitzpatrick, I think you stay for the assessment report. So thank you so much. Okay, thanks, Janine.
If you guys haven't already, you should send that video to Yale and Mark Brackett. I think they would use it in their training.
Yeah, it was a good video, especially that one guy. Maybe he'll be Mark's consultant. Okay, Dr. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
You're here. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so moving on. Tonight we will be reviewing District 25's performance on last spring's Illinois Science Assessment, or the ISA, and the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, or the IAR. Along with sharing assessment data, we will also be highlighting specific actions that district departments and buildings are taking to support student growth and achievement this year. I'll now turn the presentation over to our assessment coordinator, Amanda Chernick.
Good evening, everybody. So we're going to begin tonight with the ISA, which is assessment administered to all 5th and 8th grade students in our district as well as in the state of Illinois. So this slide shows how our students performed on the ISA during the spring of 2022 and spring 2023. 5th grade students are on the left and 8th grade students are on the right. The light green bars represent the percentage of District 25 students meeting or exceeding the proficiency benchmark in science over the last 2 years, while the dark green bars represent the percentage of Illinois students meeting or exceeding the benchmark for those same 2 years. District 25 proficiency rates in science continue to outperform the state. Currently, the elementary science program is in the monitor and review year, in which implementation goals and evidence of student progress are reviewed. The middle school science program is in its research year, in which best practices and additional resources are analyzed. This next slide shows the ISA's spring 2023 overall performance data with the state average and District 214 sender districts, which is comprised of 6 school districts, including District 25. Our district continues to outperform all other D214 sender districts on the ISA. So next we're going to move on to the Math and English Language Arts IAR assessment administered to all 3rd through 8th graders in the state. So this slide shows how our students performed on the IAR during the spring of 2022 and 2023. Our overall math performance is on the left and our overall ELA performance is on the right. The blue bars represent the percentage of District 25 students meeting or exceeding the IAR proficiency benchmark over the last 2 years, while the gray bars represent the percentage of Illinois students meeting or exceeding the benchmark for those same 2 years. The orange line denotes our district's projected proficiency for the last spring in math and ELA as calculated by the ECRA Group, our research and analytics partner. These predictions were made using historical District 25 standardized assessment data to anticipate proficiency for the district. You can see that we exceeded our projections in both math and ELA and we continue to outperform the state. A point of celebration, because we are celebrating tonight, right? ELA proficiency increased by over 10 percentage points compared to last year. We wanted to reshare the slide initially posted by Dr. Scott Peters during his analysis of our advanced placement process this past September. As a reminder, this graph shows that Illinois has the highest proficiency cut scores in the nation. To help contextualize our IAR results, let us look at the state percentiles. On the IAR state percentile report calculated by ECRA, we can better see that our district performs the same or better than 90% of other Illinois districts in math, and the same or better than 88% of other Illinois districts in ELA. So even though Illinois has the highest targets to demonstrate proficiency in the nation, our students are still performing well above average compared to other Illinois districts. Now we'll take a closer look at our math growth and achievement on the IAR. So some slides tonight will be referencing ECRA's growth metrics. To review, ECRA's growth model uses color coding to help with student growth interpretation. Blue means that student groups experienced higher than expected growth. Green means the student group experienced expected growth. Yellow and red means that student group experienced lower than expected growth. We used growth information to report on one of our strategic plan goals, which is to increase the percentage of students who demonstrate expected or higher than expected growth in ELA and math on the IAR. As indicated on the strategic plan dashboard, there was a 1% increase in the amount of students who demonstrated expected or higher than expected growth, starting at 85% in the spring of 2022, moving to 86% in the spring of 2023. And as you will hear during this presentation, we are actively embedding strategies now to continue to meet the strategic plan goal. The top right-hand corner of this report shows the IAR growth score in math for the district, which is green. Further, all grades grew as expected on the spring IAR, except 7th grade, which experienced higher than expected growth. All educators who teach math continue to apply math instructional strategies from last year's book study titled Building Thinking Classrooms in Mathematics by Peter Lijdal. This next slide shows our math IAR data disaggregated by student groups. While all student groups grew as expected in math last spring, you can see that 8% of our students with an IEP met the proficiency benchmark, while 53% of students without an IEP met the benchmark. So as a reminder, this is the achievement gap. We want to also compare growth between these student groups to ensure that there is not a growth gap between them, so that the achievement gap does not continue to widen. In this case, both of these groups are growing as expected. To close the achievement gap, lower performing groups must grow at higher rates. Diane and her DSS team, as before, are keeping an eye on this information. Additionally, the Department of Student Learning has been collaborating with the Department of Student Services and the Director of Equity and Multilingual Program to regularly review data to inform resources and instructional practices. This is one of our strategic plan strategies. We're going to transition from math growth to proficiency. So proficiency levels in math varied across grade levels this past spring, with our overall math proficiency falling at about 47%. You can see that grades 3rd, 4th, and 7th trended the highest, while 8th grade lagged behind the other grades. This fall, elementary teachers began implementing the updated Math in Focus 2020 curriculum with professional learning about instructional practices embedded throughout the school year. This is another one of our strategic plan strategies. Now we are looking at how our grade levels performed across time, going back to the 2017-2018 school year. The blue and red bars on this graph reflect pre-pandemic performance. Math performance for 6th and 7th graders is trending higher than the 2 years prior. It's also important to note, this year the DSL created the DSL Hub to help teachers more easily access and utilize instructional resources. Let's also take a look at our cohort performance over time. On this graph, each colored line follows a cohort of students from 3rd grade to their grade last spring. For example, the blue line is following the same cohort of students from 3rd grade to 8th grade. The 6th through 8th grade cohorts are each missing the data point from spring 2020 due to COVID, though there is a continuous line for the cohort to make this graph easier to interpret. You can see that cohort performance over time has been inconsistent in math. Last year's 7th graders demonstrated the greatest range in scores over time. Data analysis on the IR subtests revealed that math reasoning and modeling demonstrated the most room for growth for our students. Elementary teachers are currently receiving targeted professional development in these areas. High-impact teaching strategies in these 2 areas are also part of the middle school math program review. This slide shows the IAR 2022 and 2023 performance data of both District 214 Center districts and the state of Illinois. The Center districts again reflect 6 schools, including District 25. The blue bars represent the percentage of each district students, grades 3 through 8, who are meeting or exceeding the proficiency benchmark in math in spring of 2022, while the red bars represent the percentage of students meeting or exceeding in the spring of 2023. District 25 continues to outperform the state in all but one of the other District 214 Center districts in math. On to the IAR growth and proficiency for English language arts on the IAR. In ELA, all grades grew as expected except 7th grade, which experienced higher than expected growth. Noteworthy, DSL is visiting each school this fall to strengthen the implementation of the core curriculum. In ELA, we have a shout out to the females. All student groups grew as expected except females who experienced higher than expected growth. DSL has been integrating data review cycles for the district and building administrators to improve data literacy and instructional decision making. Now on to the IAR ELA proficiency. So proficiency levels in ELA varied across grade levels this past spring, with our overall proficiency landing at about 56%. You can see that grades 4th, 5th, and 7th trended the highest, and 3rd and 8th trended the lowest. As part of the action plan phase of the program review process, the Elementary Literacy Committee is engaging in professional learning with a literacy consultant who has expertise in curriculum and Illinois State Board of Education policy. Now we are looking at how our grade levels performed across time. Again, the blue and red bars on the graph reflect pre-pandemic performance. ELA performance is trending higher than last year across all grade levels. We can see that 5th grade and 7th grade are within pre-pandemic proficiency levels. Additionally, all elementary staff will engage in professional learning focused on best practices in literacy instruction during the 2024-2025 school year. This is yet another one of our strategic plan strategies. So let's take a look at our cohort performance over time in English language arts. Overall, ELA proficiency grew over the year prior for all cohorts. Interesting to note, last spring 7th graders writing subtests proficiency grew from approximately 25% proficiency when they were in 6th grade to approximately 70% proficiency in 7th grade. Also, testing procedures were revisited with students last spring to ensure they were fully participating in the IIR, especially the writing portion. This graph depicts the average ELA proficiency over the past 2 years for the district, District 214 Center districts, and the state. Again, D25 continues to outperform the state and all other District 214 Center districts in ELA. So to summarize, District 25 performs in the top 10% for math and the top 12% for ELA compared to districts across Illinois. Overall, District 25 students are growing as expected. 7th grade growth in math and ELA is higher than expected. Proficiency gaps exist between student groups. However, all student groups are growing at similar rates. To close gaps, lower performing groups must grow at higher rates. And finally, District 25 administrators continue to analyze assessment data to identify areas for further growth and additional instructional support for teachers. So we're happy to answer any questions. I know that was a lot, so.
Thanks so much. Don't worry, we have chocolate today, so we could listen longer. Questions, comments from my colleagues?
Madam President?
Yes, Kevin.
There were a couple of times in the presentation where there was mention of the DSL hub. Can you describe that and explain what that is and how students access and use it?
Yeah, we'd be happy to talk a little bit about it. It actually was a considerable amount of work that was put in by our coordinators, and it was a project that we collaborated on with our communications department as well. It's actually a resource for teachers. So they're able to go to the hub, find all the information they need regarding our core and supplemental resources. There's a section on our instructional framework. It reminds everyone of our blocks of time for instruction. This is provided for not only all the kind of core content areas, but all additional areas, whether it's for student learning coaches, LMC, band, music. It also reminds staff what our program review process is, which is a 6-year cycle of review of our curriculum and programs. It gives them an idea of what phase we're in, where we are now, and where we're headed. It also archives our DSO download, which is our monthly newsletter out to staff with information about everything from important dates coming up to links to important resources for them.
Thank you. And I do have one additional question.
Yeah.
Is there a central data warehouse tool that the district uses for teachers to access student assessment data over time?
We do use a platform called Branching Minds that pulls in our assessment data. We use that information quite a bit during our data review cycles, which is when we're periodically, well, actually 3 times throughout the year, we're really evaluating how our students are performing and whether or not we want to provide any additional support or enrichment to students.
Thank you. Any other questions? Rich?
Madam President, so I know, I always look at the assessments, and maybe I'm tougher than others on this particular area, but if we can go to slide 12, because though we see green, and I brought this up before, we measure against, or this process is measuring against ourselves, not against the standards. So the keynote that was, if you can go to slide 12, if someone can present slide 12. Yeah. So, and I brought this up before, as I think we as a board need to talk about what will our expectations be, because that's one of our foundational principles, is to set the standard or set the expectations. So right now, only 48% of our students meet the benchmark, right? 48% of our students meet the benchmark, right? And we all, oh, they're green. But that means 52% of our students are not meeting the benchmark and what we're looking at here. And that was just glossed over, yet we hone in on the green, yet we're not seeing the fundamental process that something is not right. We need to make a fundamental shift. If we go to slide 15, I think this kind of, at least in the math, shows it well in that it's trending down. Our scores over time continue to trend down in math, right? That is bad. It's not good. Yet we gloss over it and don't try to look at it and say, what is happening? It is even more clear on slide 16. You start out strong in 3rd grade, and by 8th grade, you are not doing well, right? So if we go back to 12, I mean, 54% grade 3 are passing benchmark, and we're down to 48%. But even here, we notice that our current 7th graders started out 3rd grade being 65% proficient and are now down to 48% proficient. I mean, that is what we should be talking about, going, not that they're making progress. We're fundamentally not doing well. We're fundamentally, something is not right here, that we're continually going down. Now, if we go to slide, I think, 22, here at least those in the ELA, it kind of says that maybe we've done something, right? Because now you look at least this type of year, the 22-23, it is now starting to go up, even though when you look at it, the overall trend is still down, but at least this past year, we've gone up a little bit. So maybe there's something right there, right? But still, when we look at the data, if you go to, sorry, let's go back to slide 19, 57% are making the benchmark. Again, if we're all comfortable with that and saying, hey, only 57% make benchmark, that's great, and we should all be rah-rah and be happy of it, but that means that really more than, or less than half, but close to half, aren't meeting the benchmark and are making their way through the district without meeting the minimum benchmark. And we can say, yes, we're in the top 10% of the state, but other districts seem to have figured out how to do this. And let me just kind of show this here. So again, Northbrook, they're at 78% in ELA and 73% proficient in math. Kenilworth is at 73% ELA, math is at 70. Western Springs, 73-64. Libertyville, 74-57. Sunset Ridge, 80 and 77. Northbrook Glenview, 79-78. Wilmette, 72-70. Deerfield, 66-65. So other districts have figured out how to do it, and if we're saying their students are better, great. If we're saying their teachers are better, great. If they're saying that they have better curriculum, great. But why are they able to make those types of numbers and we're at the 40s and 50s? That's what we should be talking about instead of saying, yeah, we're expected growth. When we're measuring it against ourselves, not the standard. I welcome comment or feedback. This is just sad. Year after year we sit here and talk about this, yet nothing happens.
I have a question, somewhat related. What's the benchmark? What's the benchmark? You're comparing our performance to the benchmark. What is the benchmark?
It's a score of 750 on the IER.
It's 750?
Yeah.
On math?
For each one. For IER, they both have a score of 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, Greg, only 57% of our students meet that benchmark, which is the benchmark. I mean, that's the benchmark. That's where they should be at. Right? It's not us saying it, it's the state saying it, equalized across everywhere saying it. That's what it should be. And our math is 48%. Other districts have figured it out. I don't know. What are we doing wrong?
I'll just add, and this will be part of a later agenda item, the difference between every single one of the districts that Rich quoted and District 25 is per pupil expenditure. About $2,500 to $4,500 per student difference. So the amount of money we spend instructionally per student, the significant variation or variable. Are their students better? No. Are their teachers better? No. The significant variable is per pupil expenditure on instructional costs. So that is kind of part of a later agenda item. But I just wanted to put that out there.
Thanks for sharing that.
Madam President?
Yes, Greg.
Thank you, Rich, for your comments and your challenge, speaking as a board member, to address this. A couple of thoughts, and first of all, one, it's hard to, it's not that we got this information just today or anything, but to reply in full to your challenge is, we can't do that in the moment. So I would at least speak for myself is in not having a full reply does not reflect not an interest in discussing it. The other thing I want to address in your comments is, first of all, we do have context. It's okay to set high expectations. I think it's okay to strive for a higher standard. I think it's okay to convey a strong interest in meeting or reaching a higher standard. And I think you have advocated that. So, and I'm addressing you, Rich, because you addressed us directly. What I don't think is okay is to, what I took away from your comments is implying that anyone here sitting at this table, and I'm looking at admin and staff, is not interested or not striving toward that. So your question of how, I'm all for it. And Dr. Vine, you offers us one point that we can discuss. But if we look at the other sender schools, which is the schools in our area.
Yeah, if you would pull up slide 5, I was going to make that same point.
Thank you. And I'll wrap up. Maybe, Brian, you want to jump in. But there is context for our scores. And where we are, as you know, as everyone here knows, relates to our tax base, relates to our demographic makeup. So a lot of factors we share in common with the schools on that slide. And we're doing pretty well. Does that mean where we stop our goal, set our goal, and that's it, we're done? No. And maybe you could, be credited, or all of us could be credited with, maybe it looks that way. But I won't sit here and sign on to a statement that makes it sound like, again, our staff, our superintendent, our teachers are not striving mightily to do the best for our students.
And Greg, I never said anyone wasn't working hard for them, sorry. But,
sorry. Thanks, Greg, for that comment.
So
I think Brian wanted to speak next, and then Rich.
Yeah, thank you. I was just thinking in the similar vein. I appreciate your passion, Rich. Again, that's a loaded question to throw random districts out there with different income brackets, social, economic makeup, size. The average size of the school in Kenilworth is not 5,000-6,000 kids. So when you're talking about averages, anybody that knows anything about numbers is going to know that the law of averages is going to work against some of the larger districts. So I mean, to have a conversation truly about comparing us to other districts, we shouldn't be ignoring the growth by any stretch, and I wouldn't say anybody is. I don't think you use the word ignoring, but the point is you're looking at hard like mean scores and averages. We have to look at the improvements, right? And we have to look at this. We have to look at the other schools in our, socioeconomic, geographic area of like size that feed into the districts, the schools that our kids are going to go to in high school. And our kids from District 25 excel in District 214 schools. Test scores as well as just overall performance and graduation, levels and things of that nature. So, I try to look at both sides of that. So I just kind of wanted to reflect on this slide a little bit because I don't think it's I don't even want to use the word fair, but I don't think it's a relevant comparison to go throwing out Winnetka and Deerfield and Highland Park and things of that nature. There's not nearly enough similarities in those districts. So that's an askew look at it. So I think we should take a look at it from your perspective and look at the percentile. That's why I asked the question about what is the benchmark? How is it high? Is it too high? What is it? It's just a number. It's a score. Okay. But for me, the relevance lies in the improvement. If our improvement levels were down and we weren't seeing any improvement at all, that would be cause for concern. But I don't think it's fair to compare us to just random districts just by name and score alone.
So,
Thank you, Brian. Sorry.
Rich?
Yes, I just said thank you, Brian.
Oh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Rich.
Okay. So again, I'm looking at this more from, we talked about it in spring, and we said, we're going to get together and we're going to set objectives. And so here we are now looking at the fall assessments, and we collectively haven't done that as a group. So if we go back to our spring assessments, we said, we all should get together and set what should be the measures. Now, I would agree there are many factors going into this, and I'm not saying that no one is working hard. I'm fully supportive of all our teachers working hard. It's just, are we not giving them something that they need? Or are we not having the right programs? Are we not having something in there? Because other districts have figured it out. right, and are doing it. And I'm not a whole proponent of you have to spend millions of dollars more. Maybe you do, but I'm not fully sold on it because there are other districts that are doing that. So Brian, to your point, you know, looking at districts that are around us and just looking at it, and again, you know, just again, this is these incredibly far off districts. Mount Prospect, they made a 32% increase in their math scores from IAR this year, from last year to this year. Their English scores went up by 13%. Prospect Heights, again, another radical district, school district far away from us, right? Theirs went up 53% in math and 16% in English, right? So again, the other districts are figuring it out and doing something, right? I'm not saying we're perfect, but other districts are making a more improvement in that area than we are. And I'm all for high expectations, and I fully think we should be striving for higher expectations and what we should expect of our students and their abilities. Our students are great. I mean, they're great athletes, they're great students. We should be driving more and expecting more, and what is it needed to get to that level? Because other districts are doing it. So tell us, what is needed?
So in the vein of kind of no surprises, right, it is, I think it'd be helpful, those diverse perspectives are welcome, and maybe the data that you've collected or the numbers that you shared today, maybe share those with Dr. Bine, and then Dr. Bine, you can...
That's all available on the Illinois school report card.
There was nothing secret.
Yeah, that's all on the Illinois report card that can be pulled up at any moment.
Right, so but as far as the place for this discussion, I'm thinking, you know, you're asking some questions right now. I'm not sure our staff can provide those answers like right now either. So Dr. Bine, do you want to?
I think what I hear is Rich asking the board, does the board want to be creating some objectives or benchmarks for the administration, right? We have those benchmarks and objectives that we create or that our research partner, ECRA, creates based on data for us. But I think what I heard Rich asking last spring and now is, should the board be setting, we expect our students to get 785, or I don't know what benchmark you're suggesting. But so from what I'm hearing Rich ask is for me that interprets as, does the board need a committee of the whole special meeting on achievement where you want to meet and create your different expectations than what our research assistant or our staff has created?
You know, as an example, I know we're into our strategic plan for the gap, right? And one of the major efforts was trying to reduce the gap. We still have a major gap out there in terms of the differences between our student populations. So what is being done to help address that? I heard there are certain programs, but I think we're into at least year 3 of our 5-year plan, and looking at this, I'm not sure we're going to make it, right? And so either we course correct or we say, yeah, we can't make it. Again, either one is okay. We can't make it because of this, and we need to adjust our score. Or we say, yes, we can make it. We're just, we're just in the groves of implementing it, and as ELA shows, yes, we found the right niche. We found the right whatever, and we're on the right trajectory going up. Maybe math, we need to spend more time because it doesn't look like we're on the right trajectory there.
Again, what our staff shared was that we're implementing the new math program, the updated program, implementing this year. That new Math in Focus 2020 is better aligned with the standards appropriate at the grade levels at which they're measured. So we feel that we are putting the next steps in place for math. Our trend in math is the same trend that you see across the state as well, with some unique pockets. But we believe we are putting in the next step to impact math scores by implementing that program this year.
Thank you, Lori. So Rich has brought up some points. I'll kind of go to the collective will of the board at this point, unless there's other questions, comments for our esteemed presenters today. Is there any comments, questions, and other than what Rich is saying, or to comment to what Rich is saying? And then I want to kind of gather the collective will of the board.
Madam President?
Yes, Greg.
I just want to address and make sure some of the information that I hear Rich asking for has at least been put out there. And some of that came in answers to questions that were asked before this meeting in terms of closing gaps. I don't need to read it. We don't need to share it again here, but some of that information has been shared. And then also, there was as you said, Dr. Bine, we're going to address later in the agenda the per pupil spending. So as at least one conversation point about how we can impact student learning. In fact, we have a suggestion from you on how we might increase our per pupil spending and make a big impact. So but to answer like what is our next step, whatever that is, the board's job is not to do staff work. Not full stop. So we don't even need to talk about that. So if we're going to have a committee of the whole or some kind of informational where, much like you are doing today, Dr. Bine, you're saying later in the agenda, sneak preview, that there's this thing we could do that could really impact, then we can have that. And maybe that's an invitation for more of that. More, if we were to call that an aggressive step, then maybe we're opening that door to more of those. So, but again, full stop, we're not doing staff work.
Yes, Greg. Rich.
And again, I'm not asking us to do staff work. I'm asking us to, again, we've gotten this assessment. Now we've gotten one in the spring, we've gotten one now. It's the so what? Great, we got this information. Are we providing any direction, any guidance, any something? That is what we should be providing, is to say, yep, you're heading in the right direction, or no, we need to do something different. Right now, when I say we need to do something different, we're looking at the staff to say, what is it that the staff needs to do differently so that the measures are moving up or in the right direction? If we're happy with 48%, great. Great, I'm not, but if everyone else is, so be it.
And then there's a difference between operational and governance, right?
I'm looking at the macro number. 48% make standard. If we're accepting that, great. I'm not.
So Madam President, we're going to keep chasing our tail here. Maybe it's you and me going back and forth. I have a whole page of answers of steps that staff is taking. These answers and what we heard tonight in no way say to me that anyone's accepting this as a result. It's not. And again, we're going to hear a presentation later or a comment later about how we can increase peer pupil spending. I'm just going to stay away from that phrase.
Okay.
But so, Rich, you say that we're all accepting it. I don't hear anyone at this table saying, we're okay, just stop here, we're good. No one is saying that. So.
Well, but Greg, sorry, I know we keep going back, but since it's a discussion, no one is saying that. No one is saying that that 48% is not acceptable. Right? Or are we saying it's acceptable?
I've already addressed it.
So thanks, Rich, for sharing that perspective. Are there any other comments and questions from board members about this presentation?
Kind of a cliche, but I'll throw it out there. 2 state-mandated mandatory tests twice a year. If you want to peg our progress on that and only that, knock yourself out. But for me, I look at the whole district, the big picture. I think if we weren't improving, I'd be concerned, but I think you have to have that perspective. For myself, not you, that's my perspective. I don't hold as much stock in 2 state-mandated tests twice a year as the be-all, end-all for the performance of our district. I think that's far too myopic. I'll just throw that out there.
Okay. So, for the interest of time, it is 9:25 nearly. We're going to be moving on to the next item on the agenda. Thank you all for sharing your perspective on this topic, and thank you to both of you for presenting today. Our next topic is business and finance, a presentation of the 2023 tentative tax levy. Thank you, Ms. Malik, for presenting your report.
Okay, the presentation is in board docs along with copies of the certificate of tax levy cash balances by fund, and the proposed levy with the public notice. So as I always like to do, start with a review of our last year levy. 2022 was the first levy that included the referendum bonds. You recall that CPI was 5%. We always try to capture CPI plus new growth with an estimate of new growth averaging about 0.7%. We levied above 5.7%. We projected a 5.7% increase in our limited funds, so kind of that middle line there. And our actual extension came in at 5.55% increase. Then with the referendum bonds, you can see from 2021, the bond levy was 4.4 million. In 2022, it was 9.4 million. That's the reflection of that. So overall, our tax levy increased by 11.35% over the prior year. With the reassessment, however, the very last line, you can see that the total EAV throughout the district increased by 20%. So if an individual homeowner's property increased 20%, their taxes should have gone up about 11.35%. If an individual homeowner's taxes, assessed value, equalized assessed value went up more than 20%, which many did, then on top of the 11.35% we asked for, they absorb part of the shift from the commercial properties. So that's why the taxes, in some cases, went up more than 11.35%. So this is just a reflection of what I had projected a year ago in terms of where we'd end up with the levy. 80.5 million in total, and we did abate the levy recapture. That was a highlight by the assessor's office, trying to explain why taxes went up so much that districts were accessing the levy recapture, which many didn't, including us. So our actual levy came in at $80.4 million, so a difference of about 0.1%. And as the board is aware, we levy a dollar amount. So that dollar amount that we levy is then divided by the total EAV, which is determined by the assessor's office, and that creates a tax rate. So if our total EAV goes up, our tax rate drops to make sure we only get to access the dollar amount we're eligible for. If our total EAV goes down, our tax rate goes up to, again, make sure we capture all of the dollars that we're entitled to. So both of these graphs are attempting to reflect that. You can see they're exactly inverse of each other. So when it comes to the 2023 levy, CPI is 6.5%. Under tax cap law, we are limited to CPI or 5%, whichever is less. So the maximum amount we could levy for an increase is 5%. As been historical information, new growth has not been greater than 1% in the past 12 years. Levy for 1.5%, we won't get more than we actually are see happen in the district. We project about 0.7%. And this chart just shows you historically, I've highlighted there both the new growth factors as well as the CPI. If it's as fascinating to you as it is to me, if you look over in the, you see new growth, and then to the right of it, you see change in assessment and that percent change. That is the other change due to reassessments and appeals and property values decreasing, increasing throughout the district over time. And you can see it ranges anywhere from, you know, negative 13% to positive 19%. You can see this is a reassessment year, 2022, which we always tend to see a larger increase in a reassessment year, and then tend to see a decrease the year before a reassessment year, which are the years highlighted in yellow. So in looking at our 2023 levy, we start with our 2022 extension. We add the allowable 5% due to the CPI, and then we add what we anticipate for new construction to determine our maximum levy amount, and then we add the bond and interest. Again, the bond and interest levy is set at the time we sell bonds. So both the debt service extension bonds that were sold back in the mid-2015 timeline, as well as the referendum bonds that were sold in 2022, those are set. We don't ask for those going forward because they're already set with the county clerk's office to automatically levy for those. As similar to last year, I am not showing that the board would access the levy recapture, or to say it differently, I am indicating the board would continue to abate the levy recapture, and I would bring that documentation to the December meeting. You can see that while I've shown the projected maximal levy, I'm showing what I'm proposing as our levy, which because of the impact that we saw with this most recent tax bill impacting our homeowners with the reassessment on top of the referendum, and knowing the support we've gotten from our community, I am proposing the board abate a portion of the bond and interest levy with this tax levy to reduce the impact of this next levy on our community, to abate it by $1.9 million. So as I said, that the bond levy is set already, preset. The county clerk's going to levy that unless we bring a resolution that the board approves, send it to them to abate a portion of that levy. So I would intend to bring that resolution to the December meeting along with the approval of the tax levy. So because of that, the levy notice that needs to go in the paper would reflect the full amount of the tentative levy. That is what would be advertised in the paper for the public hearing. This chart here shows you the yellow line, just to give you an idea, again, more visual learners. The yellow line represents what we ask for. We always ask for more than we're entitled to capture our new property and CPI. The red line represents the increase that corresponds to CPI, and the blue line represents the addition of the new growth with CPI. So always what we get is below what we ask for. Here, similarly, the blue represents the levy increase we requested. The red represents the levy increase we achieved. And in the years that it's actually negative, that's because that was years debt came off, so then our dollars did drop. And then obviously in 2022 was the year the referendum bonds came on, so that went up. In terms of where I think we would actually fall out, again, in assumption of the $1.9 million abatement from the debt service levy, I would project that overall our extension would increase in total about 2.7% from the 2022 extension that went out versus what would have previously been 5.7. So it's about a 3% decrease. Again, this chart is intended to show that the change in the total extension every year, because it's always anticipated, I think, that if we levy an increase of 3%, that everyone in the whole district is going to see 3%, and that's not how the system works. We only get what's in the circled column, 2.9, 2.7, 11.35 new money. It's who pays those dollars that causes some people to pay more than these numbers and others to pay less than these increases on an annual basis. This is an estimate on a taxpayer, and what I did was, if you recall, the average home in Arlington Heights had a market value of about $400,000. So to kind of reflect the 30% increase in assessments, that was the average in Cook County. I showed that in that top line just to make the dollars make more sense. So projecting for 2023, if we levied the full amount for everything, it would be on a $520,000 market value home would be an increase of $212 annually. And with the abatement that I would recommend, the increase should be under $100 on a $520,000 home. By abating that debt service levy, we would then also need a resolution to transfer working cash dollars to our debt service fund in an equal amount, $1.9 million, so that we can cover the debt service payment. We have about $7 million in our working cash fund. I think $1.9 million is a safe number at this point to take out of there to do this abatement. You'll see in a little bit we have to loan ourselves some money, but I think even that reduction of $1.9 million in working cash still leaves us enough funds in working cash to loan ourselves money should we find ourselves to see late taxes into the future. This is just a chart to kind of show you where our extension, the blue line represents the taxes that are extended by the county clerk. The line that goes across the graph is to show what we actually collect, and that is due to appeals and refunds that happen after the fact. So you can see little orange bars at the very bottom, but you can see on an annual basis we don't receive all of the dollars that we extend out due to, again, refunds, due to tax appeals or court decisions. With that, I would intend to do the public hearing on the levy on December 12th, and then bring again the levy for approval at that meeting, and unless the board has feelings otherwise, bring the resolution to abate the debt service levy, as well as the resolution to abate the recapture levy, because again, that is one the county clerk will automatically implement unless we abate it.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Any questions, comments for Stacy? Stacy, do you need direction from us as far as those choices? Or
my intention would be as presented, unless the board would want me not to.
Got it. Okay, seeing no questions, comments. Thank you, Stacy. It seems like you'll move forward with that. So the next item is the workers' compensation insurance renewal for 2024, and an action item. Which is an action item? Can I have a motion, please?
Madam President?
Thanks, Kevin.
I recommend that the Board of Education approve Illinois Public Risk Funds as the provider of the workers' compensation insurance for calendar year 2024 at a cost of $432,742.
Thank you. A second, please. Thank you, Rich. Stacy, please present the information.
We are part of a workers' compensation pool with the Illinois Public Risk Fund, and the increase we are seeing to having some better experience in our workers' comp claims. So truly this increase is a result of just an increase in payroll.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have questions, comments? Seeing none, Lana, could you please call the vote?
Scapalato?
Yes.
Jogi?
Yes.
Cerniglio?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Faso?
Yes.
Olenichek?
Yes.
Neerman?
Yes.
Okay, excellent, thank you. We're now going to be moving on to school maintenance project grant, which is an action item. Can I have a motion, please?
Madam President,
Yes, Greg?
I move that the Board of Education approve the fiscal year 2024 school maintenance project grant application as presented.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Liz beat you to it, Brian. Does anybody, sorry, go, where are we here? Stacy, yes. Stacy continues. Do you need some water? We've been having you present for a long time.
The school maintenance project grant is typically an annual funding source from the state that they will match up to $50,000 with school maintenance dollars for any project that is submitted by school districts. They do have a priority ranking system. Emergency projects obviously get the highest priority, and then health, life, safety projects. So in an effort to offset a small but important, every dollar counts, a small portion of our major capital plan, we are writing this grant, or we have written the grant to put $50,000 towards the cost of replacing the air handler units at Dryden Elementary, which are built into the 5-year capital plan funded by the referendum. And this grant requires a board approval. So we're here asking for that.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Any questions or comments?
No, it's a maximum of 50,000.
Okay. Okay, any other questions, comments? And Lana, please could you call the vote?
Jogi?
Yes.
Cerniglia?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Faso?
Yes.
Olenichek?
Yes.
Neerman?
Yes.
Scapalato?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Lana. The next item is a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds from the working cash fund to the debt service fund. This is an action item. Please could I have a motion?
Madam President,
Yes, Liz.
I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution directing the transfer of funds from the working cash fund of School District Number 25, Cook County, Illinois, to the bond and interest fund of said district in anticipation of the collection of taxes levied by the district for bond and interest purposes for the year 2022, and such monies so transferred to be reimbursed from such bond and interest taxes upon their collection.
Thank you, Liz. That was good vocabulary there. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. Stacy.
This is similar to a resolution you saw last year due to the delay in the fall tax bills going out. We do not anticipate having enough funds in the debt service fund to make our bond payments are due December 1st. So this gives us the authority to transfer money from working cash to debt service to make those payments, and then as soon as taxes start coming in, we would repay our working cash fund those dollars.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Any questions for Stacy? Questions? Seeing no questions or comments. Lana, could you please call the vote?
Cerniglia?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Faso?
Yes.
Olenichek?
Yes.
Neerman?
Yes.
Scapalato?
Yes.
Jogi?
Yes. Thank you so much. Stacy, you can take a much needed break now. The next item is an update on the Professional Development Committee, an action item. Can I have a motion, please?
Oh, it is an action item. I apologize.
Yep. Can I have a motion, please?
Madam President,
Yes, Brian.
I recommend that the Board of Education approve the recommendation of the Professional Development Committee to add half-day school improvement days into the school calendar.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Liz. Dr. K, how are you?
Doing well. Good evening.
Good evening.
I am excited on behalf of the Arlington Teachers Association. I have Allison Berg joining me. And in collaboration with the administration, we were part of negotiations, and we recognized the topic of professional development came up during negotiations. We realized we probably wouldn't be able to resolve the problem during negotiations. So we asked for a separate subcommittee to deal with that topic outside of negotiations. So we created a memorandum of agreement between the ATA and the board to study and recommend options for the delivery of various professional development activities. So the committee met biweekly starting in June of 2022 with the expectation to make a recommendation to the board no later than December 2022. The committee was unable to make a recommendation by that date and continued to meet. The committee has reached a consensus on a professional development model that we are recommending this evening. I would like to thank those who participated in the committee. Representing the ATA members were Allison Berg, Kate Reno, Nikki Cook, and Laura Rebsman. Representing the administration were Dr. Becky Fitzpatrick, Lori Nomowitz, Andrea Lusso, and myself. Our guiding principles included providing additional and consistent opportunities for professional development to our teachers, limiting the impact of pulling staff out of the classroom to deliver professional development, reducing the need for substitute teachers, keeping consistent instruction in the classroom by having the teachers remain in the classroom instead of pulling them out, and maintaining the number of instructional minutes we currently have for our students. On slide 8, we can see the order of events and the process we took to come to a decision. We reviewed our current delivery model, we identified the strengths and weaknesses, we defined a process to evaluate options as a committee, we conducted research of neighboring school districts, researched best practice for delivering PD, and lastly, explored possible solutions. On slides 10 and 11, they show the evaluation and impact of our current professional development model. And I'm going to slide quickly through the slides. Slides 13 through 17 show the research on effective professional development and what our neighboring districts are doing with regard to delivering professional development to their staff. It took us a long time to get to this point, slide 19 showing the desired state of what we want in a desired model of professional development. And slide 20, what you see highlighted in blue shows our existing current model of professional development overlapping what our desired professional development model would include. So you can see there is a lot of blue, but we were hoping for more in a desired model. Slides 22 through 33 show the solutions we considered as a committee. After we created a solution, we tested it with a feasibility study to compare all solutions at the end against our desired state. The solutions we considered are represented here: an early release model, a late start model, altering the contract hours for teachers, and redesigning SIP and Institute days, including half days, in addition to our full days. Sliding quickly to slide 35. Slide 35 shows the positives only of the different solutions we considered. The redesign of the SIP and Institute days, incorporating half and full days, meets the most qualities of our desired state. Slide 36 shows the benefits and constraints for teachers and staff. Slide 37 shows the benefits and constraints for students and families. Slide 38 shows a sample calendar where the yellow days are the added professional development days, where we include half and full days throughout the year. I just want to keep in mind this is a sample calendar of what it could look like. And where you see the yellow days on Wednesdays, those would be the half days. Any yellow days not on a Wednesday would be full, traditional school improvement full days. This sample shows 7 half days, but the calendar committee will make the decision based on a variety of factors that impact whether a half day can be added to the calendar, including, are there enough minutes built up in the bank? In order to take half days, you have to have more than 5 hours of instruction. Any minutes over the 5 hours, you can bank. Once you have enough minutes banked, you can take a half day. In our case, with our current number of instructional minutes, we need 8 full days of instruction before you can take a half day. We would also need to, we want as a committee to avoid using half days during a shortened week or where there's a holiday or a full SIP day. We would also want the calendar committee to identify where they want to put the holidays and the full SIP and Institute days before the half days are considered. The next steps in implementing this new model are, if we have approval, directing the calendar committee to include half and full SIP and Institute days, inform the staff and community of the plan, collect feedback from the staff and community, and develop an implementation plan incorporating the feedback gathered. We believe that this additional time will benefit the district staff and students, providing professional learning outside of the student instructional day, providing consistency for the professional development delivered, and reducing the amount of time staff are pulled out of the classroom. The Arlington Heights School District 25 admin and the Arlington Teachers Association expect that this additional training will positively impact student outcomes. At this time, I recommend that the Board of Ed approve the recommendation of the Professional Development Committee to add half-day school improvement days in addition to the full days on the school calendar. Thank you for your time. We are ready for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Kay and Allison. Questions, comments? I have some, but I'll let my colleagues go first. Rich?
I have a couple questions. So I have a concern with the half-day piece from several angles. The first is, just the impact on the student's day being shorter. Maybe not so much in the elementary where, you're with your single teacher for a majority of the time period. Yes, you get taken out for PE, those types of things. But in the junior highs, you're moving from teacher to teacher, so those cells or those classes become shorter, right? So, not that I'm greatly within it, but if the normal period is supposed to be 40 minutes long, or is now going to be 30 minutes long or 20 minutes long, what do you actually get accomplished in 20 minutes? By the time you say hi, whatever, get them going, there's a risk that those days will be, catch-up days or something, right? It's hard to do that type of, classroom instruction within that time period. That would be one of my major concerns. The second area is, and I know it was a question in here, but the impact to CAP and parents, right? I mean, right now CAP is at an all-time high. We were just recently at the meeting with the Park District. It's at an all-time high in terms of enrollment, which means there's a high demand, meaning parents are utilizing it both before and after school to drop their kids off. Now, what if that's no longer an option? Or B, well, what do we do with the kids on those Wednesdays? That's another burden on the parents that now have to juggle, more things during that time period. So those are my two major reservations. And, again, great presentation, but in this option, it seems like those are two risky operations or changes, reduction of, school time, school minutes per student in a subject, and the implications for our parents seems big items.
I think what I want to make sure you are clear on is we were not willing to make any presentation that included reducing student instructional minutes. What you're talking about on the half days, you are anticipating that we take a full day and smush it into a half day. What I would want to do is plan with the teachers and the administrators at the building, what would the half day look like? For example, we could do every class becomes shorter to fit every period in, or we could look at the first half day is classes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I wouldn't anticipate a loss of instructional minutes throughout the entire school year. On that day, there's going to be less instructional minutes, but in the entire year, we would not lose instructional minutes.
And I can appreciate that, and I think that creativity would work well. I guess thinking of that also, there was a change in the PE thing too, right? That we have to have, is it every day now we have to have?
Not every day, we just have to have it 3 times.
3 times.
Three times a week.
I assume then that Wednesdays might not be one, but maybe it will.
We would definitely utilize the half day while kids are present. We absolutely would. And to address the second topic you brought up about CAP, we do recognize that is going to be a burden on those half days, whether there's 5, 5.5, or 7, there's going to be a burden. In talking to CAP preliminarily, there are other districts very close to us that have half-day models. and or half-day or early release late start models, and CAP has offered to support, and they do support those programs. So while we haven't presented CAP with here are the days, what can you do, they anticipate they would be able to help us. We also have other options that if it's approved, we could explore, such as classroom teachers would be getting direct professional development. We have teaching assistants, we have food service staff that we could offer the opportunity, would they be interested in supervising. I also have an interest in providing professional development for those groups of staff members too, so I wouldn't want to put all of them into supervision opportunities, but CAP has already said verbally that they would work with us when we have those days.
So you've been talking about maybe two questions then. The impact on buses, right? Because now if you're doing a late start, would we not be impacting the high school bus routes and all that stuff as well? And that would potentially be an implication or a concern that I would have. I guess the other part is, and I know one of the options, but just maybe hearing as a comment, why we didn't choose to, again, keep the student time the same, meeting all those objectives, right? Keep the student times the same, but then switch to maybe doing, keeping the teachers longer, like after the school period or something. And I know there's pros and cons, and got it, but if we're looking at maintaining the students and maintaining the consistency for students and parents, that seems to be an option. So tell me, can you talk to what were some of the reasons?
Yeah, if you look at slide 33, we had considered altering contract hours. There are lots of positives, and there are some potential drawbacks. So was altering contract hours, having teachers start earlier, having teachers stay later, considered? Absolutely. We don't believe that met most of the qualities we wanted in a desired plan. We had put some criteria in place. For example, if we could add before school 75 minutes of professional development, we looked at an option of doing it on Wednesdays for the elementary, have teachers start at 7:30, they finish the PD at 8:45. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, teachers would start at 8:45 and end at 3:45. We didn't like the inconsistency of what that week would look like, because that could be every week or it could be once a month. So when we looked at what are the options, these are some of the ones we considered for elementary before and after school. We also considered one that was both before and after school. You get 180 minutes of professional development on a Wednesday. Teachers start at 7:30 and finish at 5:30. So we looked at all kinds of options. Through the feasibility study, this did not meet most of or many of the qualities we were looking for in the desired plan. But it was considered. You mentioned bus routes. So our buses don't work with the high school. So currently they do our morning route, they do our in-between middle of the day kindergarten, and then they do the after school. With going full day kindergarten, we know we'll have some kids that may choose to go half day, but most of our kids will be going full day kindergarten, so those bus routes are now available during the middle day. If we have half days, we anticipate the buses would be available.
Okay, thanks for those responses, Dr. Kay. Any other questions, comments, Greg?
Madam President.
Yes, Greg.
Thank you. Dr. Kay, I know you addressed Rich's comments, and so, well, first let me start with, I really want to express gratitude for the solution you're presenting to us with no loss or minimal loss to instruction time, work-life balance for our teachers, the sacrifice, or if you will, that in the shifting the conference to save, shifting conferences to save instructional time. And and I really, and I think others at this table value the impact this proposal could have on teachers and students. And just the tremendous work, I mean, what a presentation. It's really too bad you had to move through it so fast, because it's a testament to the amount of work the team did. So I thank you for the comments you've already shared with us based on Rich's, what he said about working families. And I want to just amplify that. And it is really the struggle that I have, knowing I'm going to have to vote, and you know, we are launching full-day kindergarten, which beyond the educational benefits is going to really make a difference for working families, working caregivers. And I know adding up, you know, there's a 5 to 7, you know, half days. That's 2.5 to 3.5 missed work days. And for some families, that, I mean, that could be their sick time, their personal leave time. And if we're going to be family friendly in a destination district, I'm just really concerned, and I'm really torn because of all the work that went in here and understanding what professional development can do for our teachers. And maybe I'll focus my angst on, we're asked to make a decision without the feedback that you know, that would be the next step. And fully understanding that, how do you collect feedback, not knowing if that's what we'll do. So do you have any additional comments to help in this rock and a hard place, you know?
I do.
Great. I'm
Yeah.
here for it.
So I think looking at some of the major changes we're about to make, we can't expect them to happen without professional development also being considered. So adding full-day kindergarten doesn't just happen. We will need to also look at the content and the curriculum that we're delivering the students, which is happening right now with the committee, but we're also going to need more time with them to continue to refine the practices. So I feel like while it is going to be a burden, we can't deny that, we also think that adding these big changes to our system are going to require more time for professional development. And I know I mentioned it a couple times, but our current model of delivering professional development is pulling the expert out of the classroom, putting a sub, who I love subs, into the classroom. But if there are days where we don't have enough subs, the healthy classroom teachers that are here and on site are asked to leave this space here where we deliver it and go back to the classroom. So then you have inconsistent professional development being provided to classroom teachers. And that's kindergarten all the way up through early childhood, all the way up through 8th grade. So I do believe we looked at other options that would be weekly, early release, late start. We felt like the impact on our community would not be healthy. So I know you added up potentially 2.5 to 3.5 days where if parents didn't have options and they had to take time off work, they could be impacted. Absolutely. We can't deny there are going to be some constraints for our families. But I do believe we will have options to consider to allow childcare to be available.
Thanks, Dr. K. I'm going to jump in for a moment. I agree with Rich's, and you know that's what I wanted to state from the beginning as well, as far as the CAP concerns. So same, I have that same concern. And I also have a question as far as, is this, because you talked about how if we're going to full day kindergarten, we need to support our teachers to get to that place, right? And I agree with all the reasoning behind what you stated, Dr. K. Really, you articulated it super well. But do you think once we're into a groove with full day kindergarten, will this model be here to stay?
Yes. Full day kindergarten is one big change we have coming.
Right.
I've heard other conversations about the ruler program, so opportunities to make sure that continues as well. There's no stopping of learning for our staff. Whether you are a first-year teacher here or in your 32nd year, we are constantly asking our teachers to refine their practices. The only way to do that is to continue to provide professional development. It's why we have all of our coordinators specialized in specific content areas. Their job and their day is focused on providing better instructional strategies to impact our student outcomes. Like, that's what they do all day. We need to provide time, I believe, and the ATA believes, to make that happen. Currently, the model is before school, after school, or pull our experts out of the classroom, which impacts our kids in a negative way.
Yep. I agree with everything, and as a educator, my previous life and everything, I agree completely. I want to. The concern from the larger community, and this is a national conversation when it comes to schools and teachers, right? We know how much it takes, right? But as far as for our families who working and so forth, and just the time, the days off in schools that we already have, and this is a national model, right? It's not District 25, and summers off and so forth. And so anything we can do to help our working parents and guardians kind of support them in making this happen for our teachers and students.
Madam President?
Yes, Gina.
So, a couple of things. Completely recognizing that it is a sample calendar. I'm going to just do quick math. The school year is approximately 42 weeks long based on sample calendar, of which 13 weeks are impacted by orange dates on this, which is 30%. If we add the yellow dates, we add an incremental 14 weeks of impact of 33%. Thereby, kids are not completing a full 5-day school week 64% of the time that they are in school, which I think is problematic from a parent perspective. I do believe that it also is problematic from a student perspective, because of the lack of the consistency that they would receive around that education. And in light, and this is both sides of the coin, unfortunately, in light of the previous conversation that we just had about standards and concerns that some of my colleagues had expressed around the table about our students' performance, I'm wondering if there is a more meet in the middle opportunity where we don't move to 100% of the yellow days, but that we look at it a little bit differently on what could be better achieved to educate our teachers, because I think that that's important, and to be able to deliver the education to the students. Anisha, to your point, I think that is critical, but also balance the fact that out of a 42-week school year, 64% of the time, we do not have full 5 days of our students with full classroom time that they get today.
Are you saying, Gina, like instead of 5 half days, 3? Are you saying?
Something in the middle, yeah, something, because 64% of the time, not having a student in school for 5 days is an incredible impact on families and on student learning, because it changes the consistency of the model. This model also seems to, and I just want to make sure I read it right, extend the school year a little bit further, again, recognizing it's a model, but it seems to extend the school year a little bit further, possibly to make up some of those minutes, which also is something that we might want to contemplate as well on the impact to not only family, but now we're going to impact our own extended year summer U programs as well. So when I look at all of this, and I'm trying to think through it, because this one is a really difficult decision based on not only the conversations we've had tonight, but also some of the comments that some of my colleagues have expressed that I completely support. I think we need to find an alternative balance or a growth pattern on how to achieve this, because I do think that it might not be in the best interest of our students.
Thank you. And just to reference Gina's talking about extending the calendar, please note that this sample also has a later start because we need more time to finish construction. So this sample, part of the late pushback is also the pushback from construction. But what we're looking for from the board tonight really is, do you approve this model or not? Because then we need to take that into our calendar committee in order to build next year's calendar. And if it's not something the board is comfortable approving at this point, then we'll continue with our current model that we have in place right now for next year. And, you know, the group can decide if they want to come back to the drawing table for future years after that.
In the interest of time, I'll take, and this is such an important topic, so much work has gone into it. I am looking this, it's 10:10 right now, and I know that the board had shared an interest in going back to closed session and looking at a 10 o'clock end. So I want to kind of keep that in mind. So we'll kind of wrap up these questions. I'll take the 2 more comments, and then let's see where we're at, and we may have to table the rest of the agenda items or what we can to the next time so we can fulfill our closed session obligations. Did we have any other comments?
Madam President?
Yeah,
You guys,
sorry.
you had the green, go for it.
Okay. I wonder if the committee or Dr. K, if you could take some of the thoughts you've heard, and can we hear back in December? You know, it seems like, I mean, it has to be that way where we decide yes or no, and if it's a no, it has to wait a year. I just wonder, is there somewhere, for lack of a better way of saying it, somewhere in between? Like, you've heard some feedback.
Yeah. I think the pressure is always time. The pressure is our community wants a calendar as soon as possible. So the anticipation is we try to bring a calendar in December. It either has the half days or it doesn't. So that's what I would ask, that we make a decision. Does it have to wait a full year? Let's say we come back in March and we decide we want to bring in the half days. It just creates then a communication chain of, we've already communicated a calendar, now we got to change it. Like, it can happen, it just presents challenges with communication. So does it have to wait a full year? It doesn't have to, but I probably wouldn't want to bring it back if we say no. It doesn't mean it's a failure, it just, it's not going to happen for next school year, would be my anticipation.
Madam President?
Yes, Rich.
So, again, maybe just trying to shore some of this up. I think, you know, as an example, I'm not a fan of the current model, but I'm definitely not a fan of this. So my vote would be not because of the inconsistency to the students, the impact to the parents. So, you know, I would maybe go back and tell the committee to reemphasize how do we maintain those 2 pillars out of all the, you know, 9 things that you had listed there, as those, you know, try to maintain the consistency for a student across the 5 days and the time periods, because we also didn't even talk about what's the impact of extracurricular activities and, you know, and all the wrestling and all those types of things that happen after school, before school, all those types of things. It's too much of a disruption trying to do that all at one time. So I can't support this model. That's just my thought.
Based on the statement you made and a statement that Gina made, I'm curious about the inconsistencies mentioned for students. And knowing that I will be driving the calendar committee very soon, should I take away from the comments made that there's a priority that we maximize full weeks because that's better for students?
In my opinion, trying to juggle days off, like incidental days off, at least even what I've experienced, it's hard because then you got to say, okay, wait a minute, when is that day? Is it Wednesday? Is it Thursday in the month? Oh shit, I forgot to, you know, I'm here. I got to make sure the kids are taken care of.
So
it's that type of inconsistency where there's that wide variety.
What I heard you, the word I heard you say was incidental days off. Inconsistent could be true. I don't know of any incidental days we take off.
Anything that's not 5 days.
So that's my challenge is, I'm curious, do full weeks equal better instruction and better learning? And we don't take incidental days.
Right. But I would look to you all to be the experts on saying that. I just thinking having 5 days of something repetitively taught or even how it's taught is probably better than 3 and then off and things of that nature, right? Because we see a lag.
I can't say yes to that statement.
you all talk about how, hey, we see the lags over summer, we see the lags over, the holiday break, that students come back and they got to catch back up, right? So there is
Over
a period.
long extended breaks, yes, I believe that statement is made. But the weekend is a lag.
Yeah, but a 3-day weekend consistently seems to extend that lag then, right? Having not a 5 days seems to extend that lag.
I appreciate some of the feedback just because it could impact then the calendar.
Okay. No,
Madam President, I'm sorry. I know you're trying to wrap this.
no, I want to honor what the board has requested, and it is late. So this is what I'm gathering from this conversation, and tell me if I'm wrong. I'm gathering, hopefully, that you have more kind of questions to go back to the committee with and kind of go back to the drawing table a little bit. And that seems like the board is not ready, needs more information or a different model before they can vote. So is it that we take this vote? Are we ready to take this vote? Or are we saying go? Because I do agree we can't go in the middle of the year because that would really, for parents, cause real issues we've seen with other things where they need to know a year in advance what's happening for their own work calendar and scheduling. So we can't do it in the middle
if I
of the
could
year.
just ask at this point, there's really not time to go back to a committee and come back to the board and do a calendar right now. We really need the board to say, with the information we have right now, do we approve this model or not for the 24-25 school year?
Okay.
Madam President?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry. So what I would, in your comment, okay, you are spot on that we don't want to change the calendar later, especially if we're taking kids out of school, right? Like, so.
Correct.
But I wonder, for my colleagues, we've given really clear feedback, and if we approved it today, knowing you've heard that feedback and you could come back to us and, sorry, yeah, that won't work. Okay, never mind. Thank you for letting me think through that out loud.
Okay, it seems like we will go for, Liz, were you going to say something?
Yes, Madam President, I had one final question. So with step 3, it says inform community of plan and collect feedback. What might come of that feedback?
I think CAP would be the #1 piece of feedback we would anticipate.
Okay.
What type of childcare, how many kids would anticipate that we would need CAP supervision for, and I say CAP, but it could be us providing that as well.
So the feedback would result in, the plan itself wouldn't change at all. It would be the supports for the plan.
I suppose the number of days could be impacted. If we had 7 built in and the feedback was childcare is a major concern, maybe then we do reduce it to 5.
And how do you plan to collect the feedback and from whom? Who's included in that?
Yeah, I would anticipate using a survey to our current community.
And it would go to community members and staff members as well, or has staff members already been surveyed?
No, I would send it to staff as well,
Staff
but I wouldn't be asking them as much about childcare as I would about the impact of the actual professional development that would be taking place on those 5 to 7 days.
Okay.
We would want their input on the time as well.
Okay.
I apologize, may I ask one follow-up question that kind of piggybacks on what Liz was asking about? So let's just say theoretically that you seek, that this gets approved and you seek this feedback and you get feedback that, let's say, 80% of parents want some kind of childcare provision provided on all of these half days. Do you think there's a way that the district can make it work where 80% of the kids in the district actually have on-site childcare for that half day?
I have an idea that I think could work, yes. Because keep in mind, currently we're paying all the teachers and all the TAs and all the food service. So if some of these half days were approved, we aren't going to be serving food. So we would have food service staff that would be looking for additional work. We would not want to reduce their hours. We could add supervision. They may not want to do that type of work, so they may not want that, but we have TAs that may want that additional supervision time. But 80% of the community doesn't give me a number of kids that would need to be given some type of supervision. It obviously sounds like a lot, but we would need to know the number that's attached to those 80% of the families.
I guess the key out of this is that, when you're asking the parents for feedback, it's not as if this is an option. You're saying, this is the option, and what do you think? Not even what do you think of it, saying, what are the issues, right? What are you serving? Yeah. And then even then, it's if, right? You don't know. We don't know of it, what could happen with it, so.
I think, thanks, Rich. I think if I had more information to make an informed decision as far as the survey results, kind of different models, like I think I'd be more ready because this is a change for families. So I think I'm not ready to sign up. So we'll go for a vote and we'll see where we're at. Yeah, Lena, but totally respecting the creativity that went into it and the need for it. Go ahead, Lena.
Michael?
No.
Faso?
No.
Olenichek?
No.
Neerman?
No.
Scapalato?
No.
Jogi?
No.
Cerniglia?
No, you do have to vote.
No, I need a vote. I need a vote.
I would be a yes. What the hell?
Yeah, so you are, yeah. I just want to
Yep,
confirm.
I'm a yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you so much, and respectfully, thank you.
And Dr. Jogi, hearing the board's interest in moving back to closed session, I would recommend that all of the items on the superintendent report be tabled to a future meeting.
Yes.
The only thing I must, by law, mention is that the Illinois School Report Card has been published. There are links on our website. It is available for the public to see at illinoisschoolreportcard.com.
Okay.
But everything else could be pushed off to the next meeting if the board would like to do that.
Dr. Bine, the second reading of the policy, could that be tabled, or that can be tabled? Okay, so everything else on this agenda can be tabled. So if it is the collective will of the board, I propose that we table the rest of the items so we can fulfill our obligations in a decent hour in closed session. Yes, I am going to read a motion.
Need a motion to table the rest of the items.
Yes, I need a.
Madam President?
Yes, Rich.
I move that we table the rest of the agenda to a future meeting for further dialogue and discussion.
Okay, a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. To all who are, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, thank you. Now, I need a motion the board needs to return to closed session to continue working on the same topics announced earlier for closed session. The board will not be taking any action during closed session, and we will not be taking any action when we return to open session afterwards. Do we have a motion to adjourn to go back into closed session?
Madam President?
Yes.
I move that we go back to closed session to continue the topics as earlier defined.
Thank you, Rich. A second, please. Thank you, Liz. Lana, could you please call the roll?
Faso? Olenichek?
Yes.
Neerman?
Yes.
Scapalato?
Yes.
Jogi?
Yes.
Cerniglia?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.